right, welcome everybody to the November PWCC Premier Extended Bidding Auction Watch Party. Today is Thursday, November the 17th, 2022. My name is Jeremy Lee. I do want to shout out Basketball Card Fanatic Magazine. Our co-host tonight, Adam Gray, is the editor-in-chief. Go to bcfmag.com. Want to thank all subscribers, listeners, viewers, podcast listeners. If you're not yet subscribed to this channel, please take a moment and do so. I also want to shout out the Sport Card Expo. Had an amazing time at that show last weekend in Toronto. It was great to see the PWCC team there and everybody else in the hobby. Upcoming shows on this channel. Saturday on Sports Cards Live, Steve Johnston of Game Day Sports Cards and Pawn Stars expert of 7 years will be joining us late night on After Hours Saturday night. My friend Sam Genova, he was my partner at Expo. He'll be joining us to talk about and recap the Expo and show our pickups. And Sunday on Collectible Live at 7 p.m. Eastern, our guest is Brett Charville of Standard Gaming. All right, with that, let's bring out our co-host, Adam Gray. Adam, what's going on, buddy?
Jeremy, every month I say the same thing. It's my favorite day of the month. I do mean that. I look forward to it the whole month. And this month in particular, because we've known for quite a while that this wasn't just going to be like a big premier auction. This is the biggest premier auction yet. And I can tell you internally at PWCC, a lot of people have been super excited, not just about the Luca, but about the cards that come after the Luca in this auction as well. It's just quantity, awesome quality, everything that we want. And so I'm really excited for tonight. And as always, really grateful to be on the show with you.
Always happy to have you, Matt. This is a year and a half. This is a tradition. This is our monthly tradition. We both look forward to this. So it's great to be back yet again. We have Karn Rai. He's also known on Instagram as @TheBig3Hockey. He will be joining us in about 60 to 90 minutes. He'll come on and share some of his insights on the items that are in this auction. But Adam, before we start talking about the auction, the PWCC Top 100 Iconic Card Countdown is finally over. 3 and then some months later, the number one card was the 52 Topps Mickey Mantle. Number 2 was the Honus Wagner. A lot of people think it should have been flipped, including myself, but that's okay. That was the nature of this exercise. It's over. How are you feeling? How did you feel it went? What's next, Stephen?
Well, I think we feel great. I said all along, the whole purpose of the Iconic 100 was to educate and entertain, get some good conversations going. It certainly did all of those things. There were people who were mad about this and that and whatever else. And that's what's great, is that you can have so many cards that you feel like, no, that card is iconic. That's something that is really important to the hobby. And everybody has those. But by taking 150 people who are really smart, who are experts in their different areas of the hobby, and having them each vote together and taking an average of that, this was not my list. This was not PWCC's list. This was a list that was combined from those 150 people. And like you say, that the Mantle was number 1. The Wagner was actually number 3. The Jordan Rookie was number 2. And I think that it was very clear from very early on, those would be the top 3. The question was what order they would be in and then what would come next. And I had a blast with it. We have all sorts of different content and other fun things that are coming up in the future, but it was really exciting to see the community really enjoy it. And we may have some other things coming on the Iconic 100, so keep your eyes open. But before we say anything else, Jeremy, the important thing to note here is we got about 25 minutes, a little bit more than 25 minutes to get the initial bids in tonight. And I can tell you, there's a lot of people who are active currently on the, placing bids. If you want to bid on something, you've got to do it now. We hear it every month. Somebody's like, oh, I wish I would have bid on that early. To participate in extended bidding, you've got to bid early. So remember that, everybody. Before you think about that, anything else, just remember you've got 25 minutes to place your initial bids.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who actually go into the auction at the beginning of when it's first launched and place a bid on everything just so that they qualify and they can look for what they might deem to be a deal in extended bidding. Last month, I did that with one item, not all of the items, one item. I placed a bid before extended. I ended up winning the auction. I won my first premier auction card last month. This month, I'm not bidding on anything, but there are some cards that I'm very interested in watching. So I wonder, back to the top 100, did you look how many cards on the list are in the auction tonight? I wonder. I know we've got 52 tops Mickey Mantles. We've got Michael Jordan rookies, a Gretzky, Jackie Robinson. I could probably go on and on, but that would be a fun thing to do, and to even notate that, you know, where this card ended on that list. But that might make the list seem a bit more sort of official than it really was. So maybe not the best idea, but still, it's exciting to see those cards show up at auction now that now that the list is finished, the reveal has been completed. So, okay, let's give everyone a second. Remember, you want to get it if you want to qualify for extended bidding. You've got 24 minutes. After that, you just can't bid, and you might see some items go by. But I'm excited to see what these things end for. Let's go to the chat, Adam. Let's just say hello to who we've got here so far. I see I see Warren out there talking about my hair, or lack of it, Warren. Thank you so much. Teapot in the house from Sports Card Investor. Welcome to the show, Teapot. I watched your guys' video earlier today talking about this auction tonight, and I think you guys shouted out about 10 or so cards that are kind of going to gauge where the hobby is at right now. So that's going to be interesting. And I actually noted those down. So we'll take a look at those. Studio Sports in the house. Great night of sports cards on the channel. Let's go on that like button. Thank you. Warren Lawfer from the Mint 10 Fund. Good evening to everyone except people that start fights in card shops when they can't sell their cards. I mentioned the Mint 10 Fund, also from Arena Club. There's my guy, Lashwine. What's up? Great to meet you at the expo. We got Watch 'em Bleed, need more Kevin Durant cards. Curmudgeon in the house. Wiz Collectibles, good evening to you. Frankie's in the house all the way from Puerto Rico. Prodigy Card Collector, hello to you. Great day to be in the hobby. If Luka breaks 4 million, can we shave Jeremy's head? We do it either way, whether he does or he doesn't. No problem. We're shaving his head anyway. Good evening, Albert Jones. Tristan, glad to have you on a live. Justin Bode. Justin Bode comes and goes every couple months. Good to see you again, Justin. Max, what's going on? Good to see you. Says, Adam, your background has immensely improved since the taped comics and poster. Yeah, that's right. He's got shelves now. He's got shelves. Teapot says the Iconic 100 was fantastic. Grateful to have been a part of it. And Teapot actually produced a lot of content around it on Instagram. So that was pretty cool. We got Contender in the house. Whether the cards sell for high or low, it's going to be historic. No doubt. Frankie says that top 3 on the Iconic was no doubt about it. Again, Honus Wagner, Michael Jordan, Mickey Mantle. No doubt about it for me either. I would have, biased. I would have liked to see Wayne Gretzky in the top 5. I think he came in at 7 or 8, but that's okay. That's okay. Justin, I'm tempted to go after that PSA 8 Peachy. Well, we're going to take a close look at it. If you want to, though, Justin, you got to get your first bid in the next 22 minutes. Otherwise, you can't bid anymore. Max says, like up the video to help with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you, Max. Vintage Card Collector. Odds the Luka Logo Man ends at the current price, 50-50. I think that's a fair odds on whether or not that will get more bids, but it is a legendary card. So you just never know who's going to be lurking. And it has sold for almost double what it's at right now in the past. So you just never know. Good evening, Jay-Z. Good evening to you. Lash Wine says, let's keep the hobby heated. 450 hockey cards. Thank you for the deal on the Ovi Young Gun. Oh, yeah. Good. Nice to see you, too. Nice. That's Peter, I believe. Todd McDonald, good to see you. Joe Perot, my guy from Santa Cruz. Welcome to the show. Wow, you all are here. Footy cards. Exciting night for cards. Gary Bednar, good evening to you. Favorite night of the month. Adam, is it your favorite night of the month, too?
You know it is.
I know it is. Hockey cards up. What's going on? Jay Mollico in the house. Becoming a Brady expert slowly but surely. Adam is Spurs Cards, KC Gold. Enjoyed sharing a meal and beer with you, Jay, at Cigar Night. Care to sell your Barry Lynch pins? I bought a Barry Sanders Lynch pins at the National. Warren says the Hamilton Futera is the low-key steal of this auction. Interesting. And Huggins in the house. Don't waste your time looking at Gretzky tonight. The oil drops are subpar. Well, we will take a look at the oil drop on the PSA 8 Peachy Wayne Gretzky rookie card. Welcome everybody to the show. It is PWCC Premier Night, and it is a big night. It's a big night. Adam, what's on your mind? Are there any cards you'd like us to look at right away? I can bring up the auction. We can start looking.
Well, I think, as we mentioned in the pre-show, this auction, the card that most people have talked about, the thing that you've seen the most marketing around, is easily the Luka. So it's probably good to start there and explain why the Luka card is as big of a card it is, why it's already, if it sells as its price stands right now, be the third most expensive basketball card of all time, with it being the 19th highest sell of a card of all time, and would be the most expensive basketball card this year. Again, now you can say, on one hand, you can say, but it's selling for significantly less than the private sale was reported to in the past. Totally get that. That's something that a lot of people are going to point to immediately. But like, we're talking about close to $3 million, Jeremy. Like, I think sometimes we get a little lost on these things. This is a huge deal, even if it just closed at what it's at right now. But like the person posted a few minutes ago, is it going to sell for more than this? I think it's a 50-50. That's what that guy said. I don't have any clue, because how do we predict cards like this that are well into the millions of dollars, right? The number of people that can bid on cards like this is small, but all it takes is somebody who has like a celebrity type status to look at this and go, wait a second, this is Luka's best card? This is his best card, right? He's got 3 rookie logo men, and the National Treasures is widely regarded as his very best. Aesthetically, it's obviously impressive. It's a 1-of-1, so it doesn't get any rarer than that. But the key is this. If you look at the entire Panini era across all sports, and you ask the question, what's the best card of the era? I would say it's the Steph Curry on NTRPA. I would say second is this card. What I'm saying right now out loud, and you can argue with it if you want to, I think this is the second best card of the era, and it's up for sale. And seeing that at auction is not only rare, Jeremy, the opportunity that we have right now where some of the market hasn't done great things recently, it provides an opportunity to buy maybe that didn't exist. I mean, that didn't exist in the past. You never see cards like this at open auction. So from my perspective, that's what's most fun about tonight, is to see what this card does. What do you think about the Luka card?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this card, so what did it sell for last time? 4.2 or something?
I should know that off the top of my head. I don't know. I think it's 4 point something. But again, I think there's some trade in there too. And so it's a little bit.
Okay. Well, in any event, I mean, this card is already at it's over $2.7 million with the buyer's premium, right? It's a 2.3 plus another 460. Frankie's telling us it sold for $4 million. It's already like, it's inching its way up there. Couple more bids, and it's there for the most part. I mean, it's a big card. Now, if you were to take out that $4 million sale that it achieved last time, we would be losing our marbles right now on the fact that it's at 2.3 today. The fact that it sold for $4 million when it did almost makes this less of an exciting. The magnitude isn't quite there because it sold for so much before. But again, if you erase that, this is a monstrous sale at what it's already at right now. As you said, it's already poised to be the second highest selling basketball card of all time, second only to itself.
Third. There's a LeBron James.
Third.
There's a LeBron James out of 23. There's the Luka, and we're talking about outright sales, not like share sales or anything like that, but straight up sales. It's the third biggest sale of all time if it sells at what it's at right now.
Right,
and that's will go up from here. So yeah, it's a huge day from the hobby, but people from the outside see it and they go, "Oh, it's down from what it was last year," and you kind of go, "But it's still almost $3 million, Jeremy."
Well, and that's kind of that's the thing that I think a lot of us in the hobby, there's a lot of sort of talk out there that, well, if it doesn't sell for $4 million again, then where's the hobby at? Let's take a step back, everyone, and let's just think about maybe, we recognize that the peak in 2021 was excessive. And now we're at a point where we're trying to find where the hobby is. Nobody is sure right now where things are going to settle. Where is the bottom? Are we there? Was it last month? Is it next month? When is it? We just don't know. And this card, regardless of where the bottom is, if you were to tell anybody a couple of years ago that this card would sell for $2.3 million or $2.7 million in November of 2022, you wouldn't believe it. You would not believe that was ever going to happen. But then you layer on that, well, actually, and it sold for $4 million or $4.6 million, Jay Mollico is telling us. sold for 4.6 million already one time, you might think we've lost our minds, but that's where we're at. And right now, even though 2.3 million plus buyer's premium is less than where it was last time, it's still an extraordinary amount of money for a modern sports card. I mean, even a vintage sports card, but we're seeing those sell for good money too, obviously. So I don't know, Adam. I think we've got that one. We've got another Brady Contenders selling in the auction tonight. We have a Bryce Harper Superfractor, Bowman Chrome Superfractor. You froze on me, Adam. We've got the Patrick Mahomes 1-of-1 Contenders ticket. We've got a Luka in addition to the Luka logo, man. We've also got the Luka Black Gold Prism out of 5 in the BGS 9.5 that's at $180,000 right now. So we've got some monster cards coming onto the auction slate tonight. And I don't know. I mean, 442 items in the auction. That's the most ever in the Premier. Last month there was 439, and the month before there was 436. So we've seen consistency in overall volume of lots. It's gone up by only 3, which is way less than 1% month to month to month, September, October, November. So that, I remember, Adam, when we did the September show, 436 items. The month before it was 200 and something. And I said to you, what does that tell you about the state of the market when we're seeing like almost 200 more lots? And, we weren't exactly sure what that meant. We were speculating, but now we're seeing it stabilize, at least for this month and the last 2, in terms of the amount of lots. Now, what I wonder is the overall sales of the auction. How many millions of dollars will November be versus October and versus September, when we saw a similar amount of lots? Now, obviously, we have bigger cards this time than the last 2, but it's still an interesting metric that I would be curious about.
Yeah, what I can tell you is that last month was the biggest auction we ever had, and in terms of total dollars, and this will be bigger than that one. I can tell you that. And by the way, I really apologize for my internet. I don't know what's going on there. I just texted my wife and said, hey, are the kids all on our internet at the same time or something like that? So hopefully that doesn't happen again. But if it does, maybe I'll shut down or something.
And I just want to mention too that now that PWCC, when you go into the item, it's got like a video. It's got it's got a video. Now it's got the 360 degree and the items. That's why I was freezing up. So I'm going to spend as little time as possible tonight in the auction, in the item listings themselves, and more time on this screen here, where we just see, the main page. But as soon as we click in, we're losing quality of the show. So we're going to spend almost all of our time in here and not in the listings themselves. It's just too much bandwidth the way that the listings are set up at this moment.
Let's talk about that real quick though. You don't have to, don't click on it, but for anybody who's at home, definitely go to the PWCCmarketplace.com website if you haven't been, and check out the Premier auction. Even if you're not bidding, go check it out and see what the new interface looks like. It's really slick. You're seeing a video that sort of pops up. It's in your face as soon as you click on the item. You're getting to hear me talk about each of the cards individually. You're getting to see the 360 view on each of the cards. You're getting the highest resolution images in the industry, both front and back. You're getting everything you could sort of possibly get on each card within an auction format. And so I'd encourage anybody, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. I know our team's super proud of where the auction is at this point, and I want to give those people who've made the interface as nice as it is really some credit, because it's super slick. And again, Jeremy, I'm sitting here wishing that PWCC didn't have this policy that PWCC employees are not allowed to bid, but I am not allowed to bid. So I do get to go look at all of them, but for those of you who are able to bid out there, definitely go check it out.
All right, so we're going to hold here on this top ticker, which will show us the most recent bids coming through on items. So we'll hold here. We're going to go to some more comments right now. Junk Wax Investor, check out his YouTube channel, in the house, popcorn in hand, ready for the show. Jacob S says that Giannis 2 for top Panini cards. After this, Alt will probably own all 3. Dallas Morrison from the Morrison Trading Post shop here close to me. Yes, they were. Good to see you. Dallas Wiz Collectible says that people are going to react that the sky is falling if it's not near 4 million, but prices were crazy bloated then, and it's already going to sell for a very, very healthy price without more bids. I 100% agree with that comment. And if people are going to react that the sky is falling, I mean, I guess those people, and that's fine, but those are people who must have just entered the hobby since mid 2020, because for anyone who was in it before, these are still pretty healthy values. But as Justin says, it's still crazy. These are big numbers. Yeah. What's up, Adam?
I was just gonna say, Jeremy, the old adage that we've repeated a million times is the Warren Buffett be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. He's sort of given credit for that, but that's a thought that a lot of people have had for a long time when it comes to investing. If you're to look back at the last couple of years of the hobby, you're to say, okay, I love this hobby. I believe in the long term. If that's true, if you really do believe in the long term, today's a whole lot better day to buy than it was a year ago. It's just true. And so, you get people like Jeremy and me who are hobby lifers who are buying now more than we have. I know I shouldn't speak for you, Jeremy. I'm buying way more stuff right now than I was 12 months ago. It's not even close. So, people need to not be so reactionary to just sort of say, oh, it's not just doing up and to the right. Guys, it was never going to just do up and to the right forever. Now is a better moment to buy than it was 12 months ago. Do you agree with that, or am I way off?
I do agree with that. Listen, I think we have to be careful not to sort of predict or give. At least sure. I want to be careful. And I know you're dumb, but I just want to mention not to give advice for people to start to buy more cards now, because we don't know where things are going. No, but I will tell you that I had a meeting earlier today, and I was prepping for my Saturday show with Steve Johnston, and he made some comments that really had me thinking that that. And listen, I'm cautious when I say this because of this platform. We have lots of people here with us, but he laid down some pretty good rationale to me. For me, at least, it made sense to me as to why now is a good time to be buying certain things, not all things, but certain things. So, but if the market continues to fall, then we're wrong, or he's wrong, and I'm wrong for believing or understanding what he was saying. That said, to your point though, Adam, we are lifers. I'm always buying. I don't care where the market is. I'm always buying cards I want, especially cards that I can't find on a regular basis. The real scarce cards, the low print run, beautiful cards of players that I collect. Yeah, I mean, I was just at the Sport Card Expo in Toronto, and I came home with a stack of new cards for my personal collection. This stack right here for my personal collection. So I'm going to show those off Saturday night on my late show. But yeah, I mean, we're always buying, Adam, you and me, because we're hobbyists, and the market's going to move, and just spend responsibly is really what I would say about that. But back to the Luka card for one sec. Jay Mollico lets us know the card ladder has it presently valued at $3.567 million. So, according to their predictive technology, it has a ways to go tonight, and perhaps it will. Diamond Pocklington, yes, so much fire tonight. Frankie, who knows, says the auction is probably the best lineup of modern cards seen to date. Now, that's a huge statement, because PWCC has done 17 or 18 of these premier auctions. PWCC is not the only auction house in the business. So that's quite the statement there from Frankie, who I know personally watches these things. So I take that as sort of fact, not just opinion. LaSchwein says, why do you guys think the owner of the Luka is selling after owning it for such a short amount of time? Now, that's an interesting question. I think a lot of people would like to know. Adam, I don't know if you're even allowed to opine on that, considering you work for PWCC and you likely know who the owner of the card is. It may not be a big secret. He's probably got, he or she probably has a big social media presence on Instagram and elsewhere. But can you say anything about that?
Yeah, what I would just say is, look, I don't actually have I know of the seller. I've talked to him just once or twice. What I would say is that whenever somebody sells something like this, you should keep in mind that this is a material amount of money for almost anybody, right? And so there's times when people need cash flow for all sorts of different reasons. Getting several $1 million at once is always something that somebody might need. It's not just a matter of like, is it the time to sell? Sometimes it's like, when do you need cash? Maybe he has a tax situation. Jeremy, you and I are both CPAs. The end of the year is coming. You might have a large gain position, and you might feel like, well, if I sell this now and it doesn't quite reach what I initially paid for it, then I can have part of the losses sort of netted against my gains. That's a possibility. Or maybe he just needs cash, So that's what I would guess. Like, millions of dollars matters to pretty much anybody, but that's just me speculating.
Well, the other thing there, and listen, if we're going to sort of just speculate on why, listen, if you're going to sell a card that you're into for $4.5 million, you're going to sell it for $2.5 million. You can now take that $2.5 million and do other things with it. And I think people who understand like liquidity and inventory and just business in general realize that you can sit on a card for as long as you want, and it may continue to go down in value. That might happen. Now, I'm not saying that this card is a sinking ship. I think it's probably, the best basketball player's best card at this point in time. So it's certainly not a loser of a card, but maybe the buyer is just the owner is reallocating his holdings. Maybe he's moving out of basketball and into football. Maybe he's moving out of Luka and into Ja. I'm guessing. I have no idea what he's doing. Maybe he's moving into Jordan. Maybe he's moving into Babe Ruth. Who knows? But he's reallocating his portfolio, and that's what money managers and asset managers do every day. And when you're dealing, like you said, Adam, with a material amount of money, you need to stay on top of it, and you need to make sure that you are optimally deploying your resources. And perhaps that's what he's doing, or he's tired of it. Maybe money doesn't matter, and he's just tired of the card. And he's like, okay, I'm going to turn one card into 6 and have some fun on the Premier Auction with money on account. I don't know. Lots of options there.
Knowing his collection, my guess is that he is likely putting this cash that he's going to get from the Luka sale into other very large cards, maybe not in the world of basketball. That would be my biggest guess. But again, I don't know. These are you and I have been in this sort of situation before, Jeremy, where you have things that you want and you're like, I've got this other thing that I really want, but if I sell that, we saw it with Josh Dawson last month, right? Last month he sold one of his his best card in his collection. And he said, here in our chat and on Basketball Card Fanatic magazine, he said, look, there's some Jordan cards I'd really like to add too. And it's like, well, maybe he could have sold it for more 6 months ago, but he still wants to add those Jordan cards. So who am I to say what he should sell or when he should sell? But people have all sorts of reasons for selling. And I don't think people, sometimes people act like, oh, that's so-and-so, they should be ashamed that they're selling that and they're taking a loss. Like, let people sell what they're going to sell. If it's the wrong time to sell, then it's the right time for somebody to buy. And so, we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, there's a comment. Stephen Pitt says, has to be a tax purpose. Well, that's a good guess, but it doesn't have to be. Like, I don't think that that's the only reason why. It might be. It very well could be, but I don't think it has to be. But anyway, I mean, maybe they'll let us know one day. Who knows? Albert Jones is interested in seeing the final cost of the McDavid Cup RPA. Diamond Pocklington says the videos are great. Sold me many times, being the video descriptions on the items. Sasha says, if anyone was disappointed by the item descriptions, which I find more entertaining than ever, then I highly recommend the videos because Adam does an amazing job. Hockey cards up. What does McDavid the Cup go for? We're going to find out tonight. Contender says Jordan 10s are undervalued. We got Vegas finds back in the house. What's going on, buddy? Greetings. Good to see you as well. Dallas says, item I'm most excited for is the 15-16, the Cup sealed master case. Yeah, that's a really interesting lot right there. Sasha says, Adam is putting money where his mouth is. He just picked up a card that he was looking for 30 years, being the Mikan rookie. Congratulations to you, Adam, on that. Frankie says, buyer's market. Every time I say I'll stop buying 5 more cards, I want pop up. Isn't that how it goes for collectors, though? We want cards. And if the number of people watching this show right now is any indication, we have more people watching right now than I think ever before. I mean, that's something. That's something. So welcome everybody to the show. This is, as I've said, probably we've been doing this since the very first premiere, which I believe was May or June 2021. So we keep on going. Justin Bode, validates the comment earlier. Spend responsibly. Very interesting. Dallas Morrison makes a comment from the expo, says we found prices are at a much healthier number now than 12 months ago. We actually saw collectors buying up guys they like because they wanted to, not because they thought to flip it. And I was set up as a vendor at the show, and I can tell everybody watching that I've been set up at the expo twice a year for 17 years now, except June of this year when I got sick the day before and had to cancel my trip. I've set up at about a dozen nationals. The expo last weekend in Toronto was by far the best show I'd ever had as a seller. Maybe not as a buyer because I was so busy selling I couldn't find time to buy, but I can tell you the selling was better than ever for me. Maybe I had the right inventory. I don't know, but it was. So just so you all know that. Doug Brenner says PWCC does ban bidders that do not pay for items. Good to know. CM says, what's the best way to get a hold of Adam for a basketball card consignment? Instagram at the real 27 guy. CM, Instagram at the real 27 guy. Justin Wickizer says the flip to get rich mindset was an anomaly. It was fun while it lasted. You can still make money in this game, but must collect and become more innovative when making moves. I think that's like the benefit of where we're at in the hobby is that not anybody can be successful in the hobby like maybe anybody could in 2021. You actually need to understand cards. You need to understand who the athletes are, regional premiums, seasonality, the ebbs and flows of the market throughout the season is also important. By the way, that Jerry Rice card right here, this is one I'm very interested to see where it lands tonight. I love this card. I will not be bidding on it because I spent my load on Jerry Rice last month. If I hadn't, I might be going for that card. We're going to keep on going through the comments here. Adam. Justin says, again, we need more gamification in the hobby and more utility. Also, ultra modern wax generally is garbage that needs to change. And listen, I don't want to call any product garbage, but I will tell you that I don't open ultra modern product. Because unopened wax is often referred to, Adam, as the index of the rookie class. You're investing in the whole rookie class. That's great. But historically, there, not every rookie class has someone that's investment worthy. So I like buying singles. That's what this auction is good for, is buying, if you are able to bid on items in the Premier Auction. If you're not, check out the weekly auction. Cards of all price points are in the weekly auction, whereas there's the Jerry Rice getting another bid. Whereas the Premier is really meant for cards that were worth, I think, about $15K and up. So, but it's still a fun auction to watch because this is kind of the apex of the hobby right here. Adam, you want to jump in? Go ahead.
Yeah. So Jeremy, the thing that I would just jump in real quick and say to that thing at the end there is the weekly auction. If people haven't checked it out in the last couple months, I mean, it's a whole new ballgame compared to where it was a few months ago. We're over 11,000 items this week that are going to close next Sunday. We have multiple, like every Aaron, who's at Slab Stocks, who's in the group, knows this. We've got multiple over $20,000 items in the weekly every week now. And so, I'm the same way. I only ever bought one card in the Premier Auction when I was still able to before I took the job here at PWCC. But the weekly auction for me was the place to be. And now it's more that way than ever. Most of the people who are watching the show probably aren't able to bid on a lot of the items here, right? That's just how it is. But there's something in the weekly auction for everybody. Cards that are $5 all the way up into the many tens of thousands of dollars. So definitely check that out.
Sounds good. Slab Stocks, Aaron in the house, as you just mentioned. Good to see you. And I got to sit on a panel that Aaron moderated last weekend in Toronto. It was great to see you, Aaron, as always. The Sweat Brother says the Steve Nash Precious Metal Gems is a curious one to me, given it went for $120K in January. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Jordan Hudson, good to see you. Anonymous Facebook user, thanks for saying hello. Rich, this is Rich, says, love the Premier Auction. There's a real nice Howe PSA 8. And interestingly, last month, there was a really nice Gordie Howe 51 Parkhurst PSA 7.5 that a friend of mine ended up buying. I forget the price, somewhere in the 40s, I think, low 40s. So I'm not sure what the how is at right now, but it should sell for not excessively, but significantly more than the 7.5 sold for, I would think. Bob D says people are selling because they can buy back at half the price in 9 months. I mean, that's quite the crystal ball there. If you are certain of that, then, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to play that game. I never claim to be able to time the market. I certainly can with hindsight, just like everybody else can, but who knows? Maybe Bob D is correct. Sasha says extended bidding has started. Can you mention the rules or how the timer works for newcomers? Great question, Sasha. Adam, do you want to handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing that you've got to know is you look at the auction. There's this green box that right now on Jeremy's screen shows 4 minutes and 56 seconds, and it keeps resetting. If you're not used to the extended bidding model, it's the best thing ever because it's basically designed to prevent all sorts of sniping, right? We've been on other auction platforms before where we lost out on an item where we were willing to spend more money, but the time ran out and we just undershot where the item was going to sell. That doesn't happen here in the Premier Auction because what's going to happen is for the next hour and a half, actually, I don't know the exact times on this, but for the next little while, every time there's a bid in the auction on any item, it will reset to 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you right now, for the next little while, it's just going to keep doing that. But at some point, there won't be cards getting as many bids anymore, right? Most of the cards will be basically done. They'll been bid up as high as they can be. And then at that point, that's when we'll be down to a minute increments. And then after one whole minute passes, and you'll see it very clearly on the timer up here, when it hits 000 and it says that's it, all of the items in the auction are going to end together. So for Sasha, who may or may not be bidding on something tonight, what you're going to do is you could bid now as long as you bid it before extended bidding. And now you can bid now, you can wait, you can do whatever. But the key is you need to make sure you get your bids in before it hits 000 because once it does, that's it.
True that. Okay. So Hobby Champs here makes a comment. I'm going to start submitting fixed listings with PWCC as someone who doesn't have a lot of free time. I dread listing my own stuff, and their free to vault is the progressive feature I was waiting for. There's some good feedback on the services that PWCC is offering. AO Rhino in the house. We're all excited for tonight, AO. Good to see you. Stephen Pitts, glad to hear the expo was good. How many large shows do I get to in Canada? I feel as though the States are having an issue with the number of shows we have, and people are fatigued. Canada has the expo twice a year in Toronto, usually the first weekend of May and the middle of November. And then there's the Edmonton Expo, same promoter. And that one moves around either April or June. I think next year it's in June. And then in Vancouver, there's a big show this weekend, actually, that I'm not making it out to, unfortunately. But those are the big shows in Canada. Luca Nation Network. You are opening those Tim Horton packs, eh? Nice play on words there, Cage. I don't know if that's Cage or Andrew, but yeah, I'm opening Tim Horton's packs. Dexflow says he's in the market for a O-Pee-Chee PSA 7 Gretzky rookie. Are the rough edges versions less or more desirable than the straight edge versions? He's talking about the rough cut, which I personally prefer. Dexflow, I prefer the rough cut on my not too terribly rough. But I want to see that I want to see a little bit of roughness in my edges on my Gretzky rookies. I'll leave it at that. I think most people do. If you want a straight edge Gretzky, buy the Topps card. They're always very, very, very sharp edges. If they were cared for. No, Doug, I do not have a Star Rubies Jerry Rice, but I did in the last month's premiere when everybody was talking about the Jerry Rice green PMG. I swooped in and picked up the red one that flew under the radar. Very happy with that addition. Dallas Morrison says we're on the weekly PWCC auction every week. It's a staple for consistent new inventory for our shop. Well, that's pretty cool. Justin Wickizer says, guys, great job. Really come to love hanging with you guys and watching the Premier Auction closing. And Justin, it's great to have you. Jay-Z lets us know that the Gordie Howe 51 Parkers PSA 8 is currently at $46,000 plus about another 10 grand for buyer's premium. So that thing's coming up to $60,000 for the buyer. He goes on to say that the Babe Ruth 1933 Gaudi, number 53 with a yellow background. PSA 4.5 is lovely. And let me just say, that is probably my second favorite baseball card of all time, behind the 48 Leaf Jackie Robinson. So I'm with you, Jay-Z. That is definitely a beauty. All right. Luca Nation says, I love the Wharf's write-up on the Jim Brown. Such a nice card in a BVG holder. Card was graded years ago and last sold in that holder in 2016 when people graded with Beckett a lot more. Interesting comment. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Jim Brown rookie card. To me, it's a Mount Rushmore card as far as football goes. And to me, it's a card that, it's like the Gretzky rookie, the Jordan rookie. If you're a collector of rookie cards of Hall of Famers, icons, you need a Gretzky, you need a Michael Jordan, and you need a Jim Brown. Adam, just like you kind of need a Ken Griffey Jr. I know it's much later, but you kind of, and much more affordable, but you kind of do. I don't want to ever tell anyone what they need to have, but, just for the sake of discussion. Diamond Pocklington says, would you liquidate a bunch of amazing smaller Grail cards you like to get through the Grail of the same player? That's an interesting question. You're basically talking about trading up or consolidating. The reason why I say no to this question that Diamond Pocklington is posing is because he says, would you trade away or liquidate a bunch of smaller Grails? Well, if they're Grails, number one, are they small? Well, I guess they are in this case. He can set the questions he chooses. I would not sell small Grails for a big Grail. Personally, I'd rather have 4 awesome cards than one super awesome card. What about you, Adam?
Man, it's a really good question. I've had times where I've sold a bunch of smaller stuff to get a bigger card, and I have regretted it later on. I'd say the majority of the time, though, when I've sold a bunch of smaller cards to get a big card, I've been really happy about it because I can look at it as sort of like a cornerstone of my collection. So usually I think you do it, but you can't sell the card that you're just never going to get back that you feel like you have to have in your collection. So you got to make sure you're selling stuff that you feel okay about not getting back.
Well put. Game Time Gallery says the 1935 Marathi Jesse Owens is an awesome card. It's a PSA 6, looks like a 9, pretty cool, and a very cool card at that. We have Chris Hodge from Card Ladder in the house. That type of wordplay, gotta be Cage. Thanks for validating what I thought, Chris. I appreciate that. Dallas says the hand-cut feel on the O-Pee-Chee Gretzky is always a nice touch to the past. Yeah, he's calling it a hand-cut feel, but it's not hand-cut. Let's be clear. It was just cut with blades or wires that dulled over time, and it's become sort of one of those nuances in the hobby that if you don't know, you just wouldn't guess that the hobby generally prefers those rough edges on the Gretzky rookies. When we look at it a little bit later, we'll get into it a little bit more for sure. Jacob says, any thoughts on Pokemon possibly purposely cutting cards off centered? Yeah, I mean, yeah, no idea on that, Jacob. Better question for the people at the printers. Of course, they're not going to answer, so I just don't know. No thoughts on that. This person on Facebook says, my best expo ever last weekend, and I've done the show for 30 years. That might be Colin. I'm not sure. But if it is, great to hear. Hobby Champs, I found an Ovechkin Star Rubies out of 50 in my collection, paid about $10 6 to 7 years ago. Do you think that's a possible big-time card moving forward? Jeremy, Hobby Champs, I love the card. I'm just going to tell you, I love the card. And yes, I do think it's a possible big-time card. I do.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick point that I want to make, because you and I, as accountants, we're trained to be conservative, right? Like that's one of the main principles that we learn when we're going to school. Sometimes we can be really conservative and we can sort of downplay things. Let's just point out something that we've said over the course of the last few minutes. Number one, you said that this is the most people we've ever had in the live. I don't know if it's still true, but it was a few minutes ago. We
have more now than we did when I said it.
Okay. So that's true. Number two, this is the most amount of, I can say this as somebody who works for PWCC, this is the most bidders we've ever had in an auction. Okay? Like this is the most bidders we have ever had in a premier auction. This is the biggest auction we've ever had. And, you've got all of these sort of mosts happening. This is the most activity we've ever had, in bidding and the people who are sort of commenting right now. Like there's a lot of, and you just said it's the biggest show you ever did at the expo, right? Like everybody's so concerned about how badly the hobby is doing and how things are going down in value. And we have more activity than we've ever had. Like I think that people have to stand back a little bit. And I know I didn't mean to throw us way off here, so forgive me, Jeremy, but I just keep hearing all these mosts and I'm going, what are we doing? Like, how are we depressed about everything when like it feels like everything's moving, at least a lot of things are moving in the right direction? Any thoughts?
I mean, I think, cards in general, I picked up several cards last weekend in Toronto, as I said. Some cards I probably picked up cheaper than I could have bought them for a year ago or even 8 months ago. Would I have bought them 8 months ago at that price point? Maybe not, probably not, but they were more reasonably valued, in my opinion, this month, November 2022. So if anything, I don't want to sit there and tell people now's the time to buy because prices are down, because I don't know what's going to happen 9 months from now. But I was buying more than I usually would have because, number one, I was I sold a ton of cards. So I had more, when you're having a good show sales wise, you're a little bit more prone to spend because you got money in your pocket. That was the case with me. Bringing in, sell a card, do a $5,000 sale. It's easier to spend $1,000 or $1,500, when someone brings a cool card by your table. So, I mean, I just know that when it's supply and demand, simple economics. Prices go up, fewer people can afford it. Prices come back down, more people can get in. Then the question is, when prices come down, do people get scared and start to liquidate? Well, those who aren't really, those who get scared do, but it's the opposite of Warren Buffett's advice, which is buy when others are fearful and sell when they're greedy. And right now people are fearful. And so buying is probably in line with Warren Buffett's advice. Okay, I'm going to go to some more comments here, and then we'll take a look at that Gretzky and do some other things. Sports and Heroes ask why I'm skipping your questions. Simply because they are going to take too long to answer, and neither Adam nor myself are qualified, I believe, to answer them. But maybe someone from PWCC in the chat can answer your kind of terms and condition types of questions for PWCC. Carlos Diego, great to see you, buddy. It was my best show at the expo as well. Marco Gomes, show was amazing. Jay-Z says the Gretzky 8 is at $13K. If that is a steal, that is a steal if it goes anywhere near that. And I think it has an eye appeal rating, so we'll have to take a look at it. Vintage Card Collector says you can only pick one: Jerry Rice Rubies or Barry Sanders PMG. I'm guessing you mean the PMG Red. Oh man, that's a tough question. I'd probably take the Barry Sanders at this point, Vintage, just because
I don't think he does mean the red. I think he means the PMG Championship that's up this month, which is
the one with the lion in the card.
That's right.
I take the Rubies. I'm not a huge fan of the lion on the card. The lion doesn't belong on a football card to me. I don't know, call me crazy, but that card just I don't love. I mean, it's kind of neat, but it's not. I don't want a lion on my running back card for whatever reason. But it's a cool card. Listen, it's still a cool card. Hobby Champ says smart buyers are stockpiling. Interesting, and a fair comment. Marco says, I think people are now collecting for their love of collecting, and it's not all about prices. People are happy. I chatted with you. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I agree with that. When prices come down, you can feel like more of a collector, not like you have to make money on everything that you go out and buy. Sasha, well, gentlemen, most viewers, most items, most bidders might be a long night, perhaps the longest auction yet. It could be.
It will be.
I better rest my voice here a little bit. Definitely.
Settle in, Jeremy. Settle in.
Ken Pop has gotten bored. Warren says the Louis Futera is still at 15% of the previous sale. So listen, that's a low percentage of a previous sale. Steven says the collectors are alive and well and happy with what's happening. Flipping culture is fading. I mean, I don't know. I still see people flipping cards. I think there's different kinds of flipping though, Adam. I think you've got people that all they do is flip, and then you got someone like me who will buy a collection so I have inventory at a card show so I can have more fun at the card show. That's flipping, but it's not all. It's a small portion of what I and many others do. But is it fading? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I guess we'll see. I think a few more months and shows have to go by for me to. Obviously, it's not where it was a few months ago or a year ago. But I wonder if it's fading, because that's a strong word there. Adam, do you have something to jump in with?
The only thing I would point out is what I said earlier was true. We have so many comments, Jeremy. We've never had a moment in this like we have. At least I don't remember a moment like this where we have so many comments. We can't even make it back to looking at some of the cards that we wanted to make it back to. So I think what some of the people are saying about, the hobby is strong, that there's collectors, there's people who are interested in buying now where some of the prices have come back down. Again, I just don't think that's the worst thing ever. And some people want to make it like it is the worst thing ever. But in front of me, I'll just show you guys. In the last couple months, I've picked up 2 cards for me that are real Grail type cards. There's actually, ironically, because we haven't seen one of these for a while, there's 2 of these in the Premier Auction right now. It's Wilt Chamberlain's on-card autograph out of Legends, the Epic Signatures. And then what I got in the mail yesterday that Sasha was talking about, a card that I've wanted literally for 30 years, the George Mikan Bowman rookie. Like, I'm thrilled that some of these cards are like back in an area where we can afford them. And so I know I'm not the only one, and that's sort of manifesting itself in the largest number of bidders ever, and your biggest expo ever, and the most people on the show ever. I think it is what it is. I think we should embrace it and feel good about it. But then you're going to have somebody who comes in and says, this sold for way less. And you're like, prices change. Things go up. Things go down. Like, sky isn't always falling. I don't know. That's my take. Maybe it's a wrong one, but that's how I feel at least. And I lost you guys.
Yeah, every time I go into a listing, my screen, I lose connection here. So I don't know that we're going to we'll try to do the Gretzky, but it might be the only listing we actually go into tonight, Adam. So, but I want to bring up, just based on what you were just talking about, Sasha makes this comment right here. Can we all be happy that Grails are becoming attainable again? Prices are coming down to rational levels. And I think, we should be happy. I mean, I'm happy about it. I picked up a Grail in Toronto, a card I never thought I would own. Number 1, I didn't think it would become available. Number 2, I didn't think I could afford it. Got it. I got it. I snagged it. And I'm, couldn't be happier about that. Justin makes a comment. The Lewis card is really puzzling. I'm glad you brought it up. I think he's talking about, which Lewis are we talking about here? Not Hamilton. Keep on going. Lash Wine says, I brought home some nice PC pieces from the expo, but also brought home COVID. I've heard about someone else with that too. Lucky for me, I didn't. Nathan says, the issue with the hobby is not the activity. The problem is the way the Lucas sale is spoken on and reported about tomorrow if it goes for 2.3 million.
Agreed.
I mean, if it goes for 2.3 million, I still think that's a win for the hobby, but maybe that's just me.
But he's right that that's not how other people will view it. Other people, even if it sells for what it sold for last time, people will be up in arms. Like, what's the stock market today, Jeremy, compared to what it was when that card sold? Right? Like, it's significantly lower, right? What's crypto at compared to what it was? What are NFTs at compared to what they were? Like, you have to look at all investments and sort of say, okay, if this came down this much, then how much should a card be? And I think you're going to find that cards are somewhat in line with some of those other things. And so, again, I just think people like to sort of call out when they think the sky is falling. So
I agree with that. Nice looking cardboard, says not a 1-of-1 Logo Man rookie, but Giannis Select Black 1-of-1. What are your thoughts on the black rookie card from Prism's little brother? What can you say on that, Adam?
Well, so nice looking cardboard is one of my favorite collectors in the hobbies. Ultra positive. And he's a guy who actually I interviewed for this month's Basketball Card Fanatic magazine that comes out this week. And he is the Giannis guy. Okay. I love his perspective on Giannis, and he has an incredible Giannis collection. This Giannis card to me isn't his best card, right? It's not his second best card. It's not his third best card, but it's in that sort of secondary tier. It's not going to be $1 million tonight. It's not, but it's a big card. Select in 2013 was one of very few chromium type sets. You had Prism, you had Select, I believe you had Crusade. I don't know if there's another chromium set back in 2013. And so to have the black of that card up, maybe it's flown under the radar a little bit given the other 1-of-1s that are up right now, right? It's not going to sell for, what the Luka is going to sell for, but it is one of the biggest Giannis cards in existence. If it's like the 7th or 8th biggest Giannis card in existence, it's pretty incredible. And the other thing that I think about for everybody else, I know that nice looking cardboard already feels this way, but Giannis is becoming the player of the era, right? He's got a championship. He's got multiple MVPs. Whereas Luka is sort of like trying to be that. Like Giannis has already been that a little bit. So I'm really excited to see what that card does today. That's on my definite sort of top 5 or 10, like watch this card sort of list to see if we get a couple of big Giannis collectors going after it.
All right. Keeping on going through the comment. Eric said, sorry, just doing something on the monitor there. Deals were to be had at the expo if you knew what to look for and made reasonable offers to dealers. Yeah, I found that people were very willing to talk. This might be Carlos, as you hit it right on, Jeremy. By the way, it was me, Carlos, that made the comment about best expo in 30 years. Thank you, Carlos. Jacob says, what's your favorite current rookie hockey card? I don't know what you mean by current. You mean current player or just my current favorite hockey rookie card? Clarify, please, Jacob. Justin loves the card. It won't ever compare to Prism because the precedent was that set, but the Select Black is one of my favorite in the whole auction. Luca Nation, Jeremy doesn't like lions. He likes tigers. There you go, Cage. Well said. And yeah, probably true. Newt Stew, I'm in the opinion we need more lions on sports cards. Thank you, Ultimate Pastime. There's my guy, Mark. Thank you so much, buddy. Jacob says flipping is the game. It's a game. I don't know if it's the game, but it's definitely a game. Barry Sanders for Teapot as well. Peep says, interesting to think about where the 51 Howe PSA 8 lands in relation to recent results of high-grade 79 Gretzky's. Yeah, it should be higher in my opinion. It should sell higher than any PSA 9 Wayne Gretzky O-Pee-Chee, of which there's 120 or so, and I'm sure there's less than a dozen. There's probably less than 5 PSA 8 Gordie Howe rookies, if that many. Should be, and Gordie Howe is the guy who he's Mr. Hockey, so it would make sense to me that card sells for more, but I don't think it will, but we'll see. Teapot says this auction is full of what would make up a big portion of my ultra modern top 50 dream cards for sure. Same here. Justin's new Grail Chase is a PSA 9 67-8 Orr. So that's a second year Bobby Orr, well centered in bold pink. The bold pink background, yes. Justin, that is a very cool card. I have a very strong PSA 8 in my collection that I absolutely love. Chad Spain, good evening. Thank you for joining the show tonight. Frankie loves the Chamberlain, but I'm biased. Peeps, congratulations on the Mikan. Wow, I can't even keep up with the comments tonight. You guys are going nuts. Dexful agrees with Sasha P. Just bought a PSA 8 Jordan Fleer because it's in my budget now. There you go. I sold the PSA 6 Jordan Fleer, a strong 6 at the expo. The buyer was elated. And I went through explaining this. I'm not pricing this like a 6, I said. This is very strong for the grade. He agreed and bought the card. That to me is someone who understands sports cards. Warren says the card people have discovered finance. We call that alpha and beta. Thank you, Warren, for the finance lesson here on the PWCC Premier Show. Is there a shorter way to say alpha and beta? A and B. Sasha says in finance, a peak in volume / users is typically a sentiment top / low. One could argue if the peak of auction listings and items for sale, this might be the liquidation event that forms a bottom. And that could be that tonight is the bottom. We don't know. We just won't know until tomorrow, really, until tomorrow. Hobby Champ says, crazy that any ultra-modern card of an active player with 1 or no championships are still insane. Just shouldn't happen. Call me crazy. But Luka is the most overpriced player in the entire hobby. I mean, listen, there's so much value built into what what Josh Allen, Luka, Zion, there's so much value. Connor McDavid hasn't won a cup. His cards are far and away the most valuable hockey cards, and I think deservedly so. But there's so much value built into what these players might do, and that's the prospecting, a bit of the gamble aspect when it comes to investing in sports cards. If you don't like that, buy Hall of Famers. That's blue chip. You have you're going to have a slower but a more steady growth rate over the decades. I'm not going to say months or years. I mean it when I say over the decades. All right. Going strong for sure. There's 34 PSA 8 Gordie Howe. So that's more than I thought there were. Dex Flow says, Metten lurking on neck. I don't know what that means, but thanks for the comment. Marcus Sports, welcome to the show. Mark Tamer, good to see you. Jeff Hart, congratulating you on the mic and Adam. Luigi says, blown away by the variety of vintage and modern basketball and hockey cards at the expo. Vendors were super approachable. Great vibe. Yeah, it was really like probably, I don't know, it was the best show I've been to in a couple of years, including every show I've been to, which is most of them. Marcus Sport says, thanks, Adam, for doing a nice assessment on my McDavid Exquisite RPA out of 25 up for auction in the Premier. Well, Marcus, that is one of my favorite cards in the auction. I favorited it. And good luck with that sale. I wish that I was a buyer for it. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm just gonna switch to the first page and show you guys the cards that I favorited tonight. And when I favorite cards, it's because literally they're my favorite cards in the auction, or the ones that I'm just like most interested in seeing what happens with. So I'm gonna let the page finish loading. It's loaded. So here we go. These are the favorites that I starred. The black star, you can do that on any listing, and that'll make it your favorite. So I favorited these top 4 simply because these are 4 cards that I think, and I was watching the Sports Card Investor video earlier today, and they called out 7 or 8 cards that they thought were sort of going to, be the, an indicator of where things are at. These top 4, being top 4 of the top cards in the auction tonight, were on that list, and we'll see where they end up. 2.3 on Luka, 300,000 on Mahomes, 101 contender ticket. The Bryce Harper Superfractors at 170, and the Brady Contenders Championship tickets at 650. I'm just gonna kind of go. There's the Jim Brown. It's in my favorites. We talked about that before. It is a beautiful copy. When you're looking to shop for this card, the registration is very important. They're not always in focus, so look for registration, and also look in the black background here, the black sort of frame, and look to see if there's any sort of clouding or fading going on. This one appears to be very strong. One other thing I want to point out with the Jim Brown rookie card, and I'm sorry I can't make it bigger, but if I do, I'm gonna lose my connection here. If you notice the width between notice the oval. Jim himself is in an oval. The border of the oval here versus the border of the oval here. Look at the thickness between the oval and the white border. So this black space is a lot thicker on the left than it is on the right. I've looked at every single copy I can. This is the way they all are. I thought that this would be off-centered. I don't think this card is off-centered. You might also notice the border would give you an indication, but you almost think, is this oval placed too far to the right? I do believe I've never seen a copy that doesn't have the oval shifted to the right. So again, in my experience, this is what you want. This is a wonderful copy of the card. We have the Ja Morant black gold prism out of 5. Another card that was called out by the Sports Card Investor team, as was this one. Now, this is the first time, Adam, that we've seen a high eye appeal, top 15% PSA 10 Jordan. I believe it's at more than the one sold for last month, but I would not be surprised to see this card get 1 or 2 more bids, if not more than that, because it is kind of the nicest one we've seen for a while. We also have the black gold Luka Doncic from Prism, another huge card, 180 grand so far. Here's the exquisite Connor McDavid that I forget who it was that just mentioned it. It was Marcus Sports. I guess this is Marcus's card being consigned to PWCC. I love this card. I love it because it has that exquisite brand going for it, right, Adam? I mean, it has that tie-in to to exquisite Jordans and LeBrons and Kobe's and everybody else. Plus, it's a rookie year card, 3-color patch out of 25 on card auto. To me, this is I would love to own this card. This is the true Cup RPA. Connor McDavid, 60,000 seems very low to me for a BGS 9. I saw a couple at the expo priced at, I think, $150,000 to $250,000. Not that they sold for that amount or would sell for that amount, but 60 seems very low to me. The Jordan Rubies, we were talking about the Rice Rubies before. This is a grail card for most Jordan collectors. It's an amazing card, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this one sells for. I wouldn't be surprised, or at least a few months ago, I would not have been surprised to see this card sell for $250,000. Adam, do you have any sort of knowledge as to previous sales of this one?
Well, what I can say about this one is this is one that we don't see sell very often. And that might sound like sort of like a canned line that we use a lot, but truly this card, we've seen the PMG sell quite a few more times than this. We've seen the PMG Championship sell for more times than this one. And so I know, the most elite big time Jordan collectors, some of them are missing this card. And so this is one that there's some eyes on this one tonight. We'll leave it at that.
Thank you. And Dexflow straightens me out and says METN stands for Main Event Tyler Nethercott, but you know him better as Teapot. Okay, thanks for that. Nikita lets us know that Luca got a bid. So let's scroll back up and see $2.5 million. So this isn't even $3 million now out the door, as our friend Eric Myers likes to say. $3 million out the door. And I gotta say, Adam, that it's nice for the card and maybe for the hobby that this Luca has it now. The sale price now starts with a 3. It doesn't start with a 2 anymore. It starts with a 3, which is only one number less than the last time it sold, which was a 4. Although there's $1 million in between and then some, it's still a pretty nice to see this up and be at $3 million as far as the hobby goes. So thanks for letting us know about that, Nikita. Keeping on going with the cards I favorited. Here's the Gordie Howe PSA 8 rookie that we were talking about before. This is a very nice copy from what I can see. And I was surprised that there's 34 of these, but that's still about a third of how many top grade, and by top grade Wayne Gretzky's, I mean the PSA 9. We know there's 2 PSA 10s, but those are kind of in a league of their own. The PSA 9 Gretzky is about $125,000 card or so. This, in my estimation, should be worth about the same. I mean, it's as important. It's just that Gretzky played more recently. So, but Gordie Howe is just as much of a legend as Wayne Gretzky is. This is one of my favorite all-time cards in the hobby, number 53 from the 1933 Gaudy set. I love the yellow background. I love the batter's pose. Babe Ruth. This, to me, this fellow at number 5, Adam, in the iconic list, something like that.
I was just going to ask you what you thought. It kind of shockingly to me came in at number 4.
Better than 5. Listen, I can get behind that, Adam. I think this card, listen, Babe Ruth's rookie card from the Sporting News from 1916 or whatever, it doesn't hold a candle to this card in terms of aesthetics, beauty. I'm not saying it's not more important because it's a rookie card or an earlier issue, but for me, this is the Babe Ruth card that I want. It's the Babe Ruth card I actually happen to own a copy of, and I would prefer to own it to its rookie card dollar for dollar. I just think it's a better, it's a nicer, comes from a more widely collected and pursued set.
Yeah, for me, that was really where the list started to be really interesting. If you go from one back, because we knew what the top 3 would be. I had no idea what it was going to be. For me, I had the Griffey at number 4. I had the Gretzky at number 5, Charizard at number 6. But the Babe Ruth, to me, it does make sense because even though, just like you said, Jeremy, just because it's not his best card, his rarest card, I think it's unquestionably his most recognizable card. And it's a card that sort of everybody can point at and say, Gaudy, I know that set. Like that's not the truth for the other Big Ruth cards. So I think it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I'm certainly with you on that. And I'm seeing some comments here. Doug Brenner says 3.5 with the buyer's premium. Did Luca get another bid?
No, I think Doug missed that one. It's 2.5 plus the 0.5. So it's at an even 3 million right now, I believe.
Stale Prod says so many non-rookie Jordans sell high. Listen, that is the truth, but there's a really good reason for it. I'll start, but I'll let you finish this, Adam. The Jordan rookie, of which we have one in the auction tonight at just above here at 180 grand right now. The Fleer 86 rookie. Now there's a big debate with a star, whatever, who cares? This card here, there are, I don't know, Adam, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of copies of this card on the planet. So it's not a rare card. It's not a scarce card. In PSA 10 with about 320 copies, it's rare. I don't know if it's scarce. I don't know if there's enough people out there to gobble them up, but we're talking about rare cards that sell for more than the Jordan rookie. We're talking about grails from the 90s most of the time. We're talking about his jersey auto from 96 or 97.
97. Yeah.
We're talking about the jambalaya. We're talking about the PMG, the essential credentials, the rubies, and then some other like the Intimidation Nations. And there's just so many wonderful Jordan cards from the 90s that, would sell for more than your PSA 8 Michael Jordan Fleer card. Is there anything else any sort of light you'd like to shed on that, Adam?
Yeah, what I would say really, really clearly here is that Michael Jordan collecting is a hobby unto itself. And I'm not just saying that for show, but like Jordan showed up 12 times in the Iconic 100. And people have given us a really hard time, like, oh, there was way too much Jordan. There was way too much Jordan. Listen, we put the survey together and people voted for him. And the reason people vote for him is because he's the most collected player. It's not close. He's collected worldwide. It's a worldwide sport. And the great thing about him is that he has these grail cards from the mid-90s into the early 2000s, but especially that band between 96 and like 98. You have these cards that are ultra rare, totally beautiful pieces of artwork that, like the rubies we're looking at here, you'll see go to auction maybe once every 2 to 3 years in a normal state. And we've seen some weirdness over the last little while, so maybe you've seen it, once or twice in the same year. That's uncommon. Some of these cards, Jeremy, you'll go 3-4 years, you won't see it auctioned even once in any condition. And these groups of Jordan collectors are all talking to each other. Have you seen one? Have you seen one? Have you seen one? When it finally pops up, it's a big day. And so, for those people who've been watching for a long time, like, nothing touches the rare Jordan stuff. It always is highly sought after. Put it this way, Jeremy, I placed 10 cards in a story on Instagram. And I said, what's your favorite? I just asked, what's your favorite? And it had 10 of the biggest cards in this auction. By far and away, not even close. The answer that people gave most was the Jordan Star Rubies. And it wasn't shocking to me because I know there's people who really would like to own it. I know it's beautiful. Everybody thinks it's beautiful. It's just, of course, those cards are worth way more than the Fleer is, because the Fleer, like you said, there's tens of thousands of copies of that card. It's just not even close.
Yeah. Well, that's just all true. Speaking of the star card, Jacob lets us know that BGS 8.5 star. Oh, sorry, not the star Jordan from '84, but the star rubies in the BGS 8.5 did $204,000 only 3 to 4 weeks ago. So Jordan collectors are they're hungry. They love their Jordan cards. There's no doubt. Frankie says it right here. Jordan collectors are definitely a different breed. Yeah, they're ferocious. They want their Jordan cards, and sometimes, if not often, money doesn't even really matter. It's about it's about owning the card, having it in hand. And part of me wishes that it wasn't just Jordan that has that effect on people, because, and I don't think it is. Gretzky collectors can be LeBron collectors. We see it with them as well. Seems to me like Mahomes collectors, they're willing to spend the money as well. So, but keeping on going, Game Time, talking about the Babe Ruth here. We were looking at this one over here. Game Time says my vote would be with the 1932 American Caramel Babe Ruth for top Ruth card. Yeah, fair vote. I prefer the aesthetic of the 33 Gaudy, but the 32 American Caramel Ruth is a pretty darn cool card as well. And I'm not going to fight you on that. That would be silly, because it's like, well, they're all winners, they're all winners. Justin Vick says many people want to be the Michael Jordan of Michael Jordan collectors.
That's right.
That's pretty funny. There is actually a collector out there who's known as the Wayne Gretzky of Wayne Gretzky collectors. His name is Sean Chalk, and he's literally considered in Canada the Wayne Gretzky of Wayne Gretzky collectors. It's not just cards, it's everything, actually. Warren, put the beers down, buddy. Put the beers down, man. 200 plus viewers tonight, everybody. Thanks for joining. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to the Sports Cards Live channel, please do so. We do this, Adam and I do this every month. We come on and do this show, and we have a great time. LA Collection, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeremy, I just want to call out real quick. Some people are really going after this Bryce Harper right now. It's seeing 3 or 4 bids in a row. It's up to 220 now.
Whoa.
And that's for me, that just real quick, I want to just highlight that, to me, is one of the most interesting cards in the auction. It's unquestionably Bryce Harper's best card. His season's now over. Certainly a successful season. Maybe it didn't end exactly the way they wanted it to, but look, like you compare that to some of the other real big superfractors, and it is a fraction of the price. I had some real good internal debates with some guys on what this would do today. Watch this one carefully for the rest of the night. It might stop where it's at. I don't know. But it's one that I know that some people are really sort of looking at to say, what are the one of ones in the world, the significant one of ones? What are those doing? Because this is certainly one of those.
It seems to me, if I recall, when we started the show tonight, we're, an hour and 15 minutes in already. These two cards were under 200 grand each. So I think they've both been getting bids. If I recall, I might be off on that, but that's kind of what I seem to remember. So nice to see them getting bids. Again, this is my favorites page, the cards that I looked at a few days ago and decided I wanted to watch them. This is a beautiful copy of the Tito 6 Ty Cobb. I mean, this thing grades out a 4.5 technically. But from this view, this thing looks perfect to me for my collection. If I was, this is at the top of this is one, I think this might be the top baseball card on my want list right now. This and a 33 Gaudy Lou Gehrig. This would be the perfect copy, Adam, for my collection. I'm not going to be buying it, but boy, oh boy, is that a wonderful copy. Like if anyone watching right now is bidding on this card in extended bidding, you have not that you need it, not that you care, but if you do, you got my complete approval on this card because I would certainly add this one to my collection. Oh, it's a museum piece right here. I love that copy. And PWCC does give it the 15% top eye appeal, which, I mean, to me, I don't know how it didn't get the 5% just from this angle for a PSA 4.5, but we'll leave that up to the experts. I also favorited these two, Adam, because this is one of my favorite designs from Exquisite. Lucky for us being hockey collectors, Upper Deck redid this design in, I think, 2009. Maybe I forget the year, but whatever year it was, for some hockey play. I managed to pick up a couple of these at the Expo last year of players on this design. I love it. This is 46 grand right now. This is 24. I was able to pick them up in the couple $100 range, not quite in the $20,000 to $40,000 range. But these are great cards. This is a rookie year card for LeBron and just a wonderful Kobe card. Look at that patch too. Really nice, high grades on both of these. Love both of those cards. Adam, what do you want to say about those two cards?
So this is a question that I've sort of been asking myself recently as a Kobe collector. I would consider myself a Kobe collector almost over anything else. I love Kobe Bryant. Okay. So Kobe Bryant's biggest autograph patch is what? And this is not too far off. Sorry. Thank you. I just texted my wife if she could bring me water because I ran out of water. Thank you. So this is one of Kobe's biggest autograph patches, right? 03 Exquisite is really the set. And so, it's numbered out of 100. So it doesn't end up having the same price as a card like, as a card like the number pieces or a card like the limited logos that has the giant patch. But aesthetically, you get more of Kobe on the card. You get this great place for an autograph. And in this case, you get a Gem 9.5 grade, again, for a price that's a lot less than it was 12 months ago. And as I said earlier, and I want to sort of say it again because I want to make sure it's clear. It's clearly a better time to buy now than it was 12 months ago because the market's lower, right? I'm not saying that now is definitely the best time to buy. That's not what I'm saying. But it's definitely better than it was 12 months ago. And so on a card like this, as a big-time Kobe collector, I look at that and I go, it's quite the card.
I agree, man. That's why it's on my favorite page right here. Let's go to the next row here. I love the Joe Montana rookie card. So I favorite it pretty much every month. And I just want to see what they sell for in PSA 10. I personally own a 9, which I'm happy with. This gets the top 15% eye appeal. Looks beautiful. And listen, when I tend to compare, to me, this is the Michael, the Fleer 86 Fleer Jordan card. As far as 80s football cards goes, this is that. Just like the Gretzky rookie is the hockey card. I think this is the Jordan of football cards, football rookies in the 80s. And I mean, it sells for much less than the Jordan does, probably at least, less than 50%. Of course, Joe Montana is not Michael Jordan, but it's just a fun card to watch. Also wanted to watch this Tom Brady refractor, high grade in a 9. These cards are not easy to find in high grade. It's at $40,000. I love the 51 Bowman Mickey Mantle in a PSA 6. I watched this card. I happen to own a 51 Bowman Mickey Mantle, also in a PSA 6. I do believe mine is a little bit better centered, so I like to see what they sell for. Helps me kind of, once in a while check in to see where one of my cards recently sold for. So we'll see what that does. And then we have another jambalaya. We've been seeing more and more of these over the past few months, Adam. And this one has corners are a 10, surface and centering 9.5, edges are a 9. So it's not really a true gem in that it has one subgrade under a 9.5, but it's got that 10 for corners because they don't exist. So it's a beautiful card. It's probably my favorite Jordan card that exists, Adam. I mean, listen, I don't know if I'll ever own a PMG red, never a green. Maybe, who knows about a red, but I do love this card. And 34,000 is the cheapest you've been able to find this in the last year. Yeah. I do expect it to get a couple more bids, but I guess we'll see. Keep on going. Look at this one here. How nice if you are able to pick up this card and these two up here, you've now got the triumvirate. You've got the three big players of basketball of the 90s and 00s. You got the Jordan, the Kobe, the LeBron. Boy, oh boy, what three beautiful cards. And then we got the autographed jersey, the 97 Upper Deck game jersey, autographed Michael Jordan. Adam, why is this only at $25,000? This is not an in-person auto? I don't think
it is. Yeah,
it is in person.
Yeah, okay. If this were I've had it's interesting, Jeremy. I've had a lot of people ask me about this specific card, and the reason is I think a lot of people are looking back and sort of saying, what are the cards that are significant, that are important, that I really want to own? This is the first jersey set. It's the very first one. There's a couple hundred of them ish in existence. I recently bought one because I've wanted one for a really long time, but mine's not autographed, right? And this one, when it came out of the pack, was not autographed. Well, if it had been autographed, it would have been serial number to 23, because that also exists. And it would have a price tag on it in the millions of dollars, right? It would be up there with the Luka as the biggest card in this auction, right? So instead, what happened is you had people who would go to Michael Jordan's camps and have him sign the card straight onto the card. And a lot of them even say on like the flip that it's a flight school autograph, and you'll have like the flight school certificate with it or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a Michael Jordan jersey card that was pulled out of a pack, one of the greatest Michael Jordan insert cards ever. And then it was later autographed and authenticated and is now in a PSA slab. It's an interesting way to still get an autographed first Jordan jersey without paying $1 million plus for the card.
There you have it. So I wanted to see what this did just because I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but thank you for clarifying. And then the Bill Russell. I mean, God, what a great card. Absolutely love it. I can see just from this angle, if you notice a bit of a red line above the black border, there seems to be a bit of a registration issue, but I mean, the rest of the card looks really good. Often, just like the Jim Brown, you want to look in this black background area for any fish eyes or any sort of fading or cloudiness. This looks to be very strong from that perspective. Overall, a very clear card. You can see a bit of the red down here coming up into the yellow. So looks like the magenta plate might have been placed just a tad too high when printed. But listen, it's a 6. The centering, as you can tell, centered a little bit high, maybe not just high. The left to right looks pretty bang on. I mean, that might be off a tad to the left, but looks pretty bang on. This is a pretty respectable copy as far as a PSA 6 goes for me. And then we got a PSA 9 Topps Wayne Gretzky rookie, which is, a PSA 9 O-Pee-Chee is going to sell for 125 or so. You can get the Topps copy for looks like about 30 grand right now. And if my population memory is correct right now, I think there's like about 120 PSA 9 O-Pee-Chees and maybe 120 Topps and maybe like 90 O-Pee-Chees. So there's not that much of a difference in the population. However, the O-Pee-Chee just seems to be the preferred version of the card, which I would kind of agree with anyway. All right, I'm going to take that off. I'm going to go to page 2. Hopefully I don't lag as I put my computer to work here for a moment. And we're going to go to LA Collections. Comment says, you are both a PMG, but I won't say which of you is the red one and which of you is the green. Too good. Love that, LA. Thanks for being here. Ross Berriman says, y'all rock. Thanks for doing the show. You bet. Thanks for being here, everybody. Jake Dahl, what was that case next to the Harper? Sorry, can't go back right now, but you like the Mahomes. Guys, EJ Ferrer is in the house. He's one of the organizers of the Burbank Card Show. And let me tell you, they do a great job. Jacob agrees, says EJ is the GOAT. EJ, great to see you. Thanks for joining the show. Diamond Pocklington was outbid on the Mahomes Super Bowl ticket. That's a 101. What a card. What an absolute card. We fawned over that card a little bit earlier tonight already. Junk Wax Investor does me a solid. Says, guys, we're at 40 likes. Hit that like button. Yeah, sure. Take a moment. If you're not yet subscribed to Sports Cards Live, hey, take a moment, subscribe. Thank you so much. Hobby Champs.
Hey, Luca got another bid. Luca got another bid. 2.6.
2.6 plus 520. It's at $3.12 million. Yes, I can do math fast in my head. Not too bad. Not too bad for that card. So listen, it's still moving. It's still moving. If it hits 4 million, I think the hobby might blow up. If this hits $4 million, Adam, the hobby might be it just might blow up again.
Jeremy, before the card actually was even listed, people jumped on our Vimeo site and saw that I had done the video on it, and they were just talking about it like crazy. And I saw these polls go up, right? And I saw one poll in particular that said, what's this card going to sell for? Under $1 million, $1 million to $2 million, $2 million to $3 million, or $3 million+. And a huge percentage of the bidders or of the voters put under $1 million. And I looked at it and I was just like, so, I mean, people don't know, right? They just take these big guesses. This was never going to sell for $1 million. It was never going to sell for $2 million. It just wasn't. And so I don't know. It's just a reminder that sometimes there's a lot of people who talk and say they kind of know what's going on that don't have any idea. And this is one of those instances right now. It always was going to sell for over 2.5. And my thought was always, I think it's going to at least get close to 3. Let's see if it gets past it. And now the question is, where can it go to? I wouldn't be shocked to see it go to $4 million. Not at all.
You wouldn't be shocked to what?
I wouldn't be shocked to see it get to $4 million or close to it. Like, it's Luca's biggest card. You don't see this card hit auction block. You just don't. You said earlier, it's the best card of the best player in the NBA right now. There's one of them. You get one shot at a card like this, and after this one goes up for auction, you don't know. Maybe it's a year before it goes up for auction again, like this time, or maybe you never see it again.
Well, okay, so just to be, because I'm very detail oriented, so this is the second shot that we've had. I think, did it sell it? It didn't sell at auction last time. It was a private sale.
The last time was a private sale, but it sold once publicly back in like 2019 when the card first came out. So you could say that, but that was a different world then than we're in now. I think
agree. For sure. Well, listen, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it hit 4 million with buyer's premium, but I will be happy to see. Speaking of Star Rubies, Jerry Rice comes in with a bid at up to 24,000. And I did think about bidding on this card, a couple days ago, thinking, I've still got some money left in my PWCC account even after buying his PMG red last month. Maybe I could squeeze this one in and then, not be able to bid on PWCC for a while, but I didn't because it's a lot of money. And now look where it is. The thing's already at 27 grand almost. So but it's a beautiful card, high grade. I'm going to be very happy for whoever does take ownership of this card tonight. Okay, we're going to stay here. I had this up before, but Hobby Champ says the Montana rookie is one of the most popular unlicensed cards ever. Another one would be the Steph Curry Topps rookie. That's another very popular unlicensed card. And these are two cards that we don't care that they're the hobby being, we do not care that they're unlicensed because it's really, well, not for Steph, but for Joe, it's really all you had. You didn't have, and it was out, it was Topps. So it didn't really matter. Sasha says the Michael Jordan is a card where we're talking about the autographed jersey card. He says where an in-person auto arguably hurts the value because there are versions that are signed and versions that are non-signed. The in-person auto doesn't add anything new since the card with an auto out of 23 already exists. So I'm just going to say sort of one thing about that. Then Adam, I'll turn it over to you. But I think it does add something because there's only 23 copies available. To me, it's very similar, if not the same thing, as just taking any card and getting it autographed, taking a Michael Jordan Fleer rookie or a Star rookie or a Gretzky rookie, which just got a bid. The Topps 9 just got a bid up to 30,000, and putting an autograph on there. So I do recognize the nuance there, Sasha, that there are autograph versions of them out there, but I do think that it is still pretty cool and it does add something to the card. But I completely understand your comment as well. Okay, keeping on going. Our special guest has joined us in the background. We will bring you on in a couple of minutes, Karn. Warren says the poor seller won't be able to harvest any losses if it goes for $4 million. That poor seller. Gosh forbid he gets $4 million for the card tonight. AO Rhino, will a bunch of these grails end up in forever homes? I think maybe more this month than in previous months, because I think collectors are coming back and saying, I can afford this card now. What do you think, Adam?
Man, I hope so. Every time you see a card go to a place where it's going to stay forever, it makes you happy. But I think, as prices decrease and as people sort of are able to afford some more cards, it seems logical that most of them, or a larger proportion, I should say, would end up in their forever homes. Let's hope so.
Steve Nash PMG gets a bid up to 38,000. Patrick Mahomes gold vinyl up to 160. Nash another bid up to 40,000. Brian Andrade says the McDavid Cup RPA is looking real cheap right now. I don't know if it's moved since we last looked at it, but I got to agree with that. Lash Schwein says, looking forward to seeing tag cards on Premier Auctions in a few years. Hey, hopefully sooner than that, Lash Schwein. Time will tell. We will see. We'll do everything we can to make that happen over at Tag Grading. Thanks for the shout out. Sasha says, our expectations so low that closing prices are higher than we expected. Maybe that's the case. Is the bottom in? Here comes the chase from those hoping for 50% discounts. 6 months from now, they may have to chase higher now. Diamond Pocklington, what's your opinion on Lamar Jackson? I don't have one. And Sasha says, Jeremy, recognizing the significance of in-person autos, never thought I'd see it. We'll have to discuss it more when we chat. Let's be clear, though, Sasha. I'm not a fan of them for my collection. I do have 4, but I'm not a fan of them for my collection. But I do recognize what they are nonetheless. Okay, let's bring out Karn Rai, special guest for the show this month. As you guys, everybody knows, we bring on a special guest every month to join Adam and I on the show. And tonight, I tapped the shoulder of Karn Rai, good friend of mine in the hobby, someone who knows big cards. He deals in big cards. He loves big cards. Karn, you ready? Give me a thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Welcome to the show, buddy. Love the baseball hat. How are you doing tonight?
Gotta represent, Jeremy. Nice to see you, boys. Jeremy, Adam, how's it going?
Good to have you. Good to have you, man. So, say again.
I say it's a fun time in the hobby.
It's a fun time. So, listen, we've been going already for a couple hours here, almost hour and a half, Karn. And one of the things that surprised us is that couple of things. First of all, well, the Luca logo man is at $3 million now. I think some people thought it might not hit 2, never mind 3. Another thing, watching this show right now, we've got 220 people watching this show right now, more than I think we've ever had on this show. The expo, you were at the expo in Toronto. It was so busy on Friday and Saturday. I heard they had to close the parking lot. People had to walk from kilometers away. Oh, and there's about 1.6 kilometers for every mile for all the imperial system people watching. And the hobby, the narrative, Karn, for the last several months has been, the sky is falling. I'm seeing different indicators today and this past weekend. Maybe it's just that people are excited. Maybe I don't know what's going on. What are you seeing? Why do you think we have so many people watching right now? Why do you think Luca's at 3 million? Why do you think the Toronto Expo was like the best show that I think the whole hobby has seen in the last several months, as far as like transactions and just excitement and vibes?
Yeah, I think the vibes certainly changed for me over this past weekend. I think I was pretty. I'd say I was drained a little bit in the few months leading up to the expo, and I don't know, something just completely changed this past weekend. And And you know how it is with sports cards, things can change dramatically in a 1 week time span even. And I don't know, I got this extra jolt of energy from the Toronto Sports Card Expo, and it truly was, for the people that weren't there, it truly was an exceptional show. There was a lot of action. There was a lot of trading, a lot of, I honestly believe that the fact that people are too kind of scared to sell their cards these days, it's opened up the idea of trading again. So yes. A lot of people are actually more active now because of the cards going down in value. People are open to making those trades. People are open to moving into things that maybe they didn't want prior because they thought they were not investable. So now they're going to something that they just actually enjoy, and they're willing to trade down. Some are willing to trade up based on what they think the market's going heading towards. So I think the activity level has just risen because of all these factors that are going on in the market right now, and that's why you're starting to see that volume of movement and the excitement come back.
Yeah, no, well said. Let Adam, think of the question you have for Karn. But in the meantime, my question for you, Karn, is, again, you were there. Your booth, you had a booth there called Slab Sharks, I believe, and you had some big cards out there. Did you make any big deals? Did any like big cards get transacted that you're aware of, or even that you were a party to yourself that you're willing to talk about?
Not to spill all the beans, but I think it's there's going to be a video on it from the Sports Card Investor. But I was able to move a gold LeBron James a Topps Chrome rookie out of 50 at the Toronto Sports Card Expo, which is, typically you bring those really big six-figure cards as more of a showcase piece. But I was shocked that the opportunity was there to actually make a transaction on it, and it happened. And there was a few other big ones too. So it was an exciting weekend for sure.
Was that the gold refractor or just the gold?
The gold refractor, Topps Chrome 2003.
The gold, the LeBron gold refractor out of 50. I mean, that's a monster card, is it not?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's just a beautiful piece. It just refracts so nicely. It wouldn't be, it wouldn't be to pass the discussion to say that it's one of the biggest modern cards ever made. In terms of value, there's obviously some one-of-ones that are more valuable, but in terms of an iconic piece that's short printed, that card is one of the biggest for sure.
And so you had the copy, you moved it in a deal that may come out on a video in the near future here, is what you're saying. Correct.
I'll say the big piece that I got in return. I did get a PSA 10 Jordan rookie with an above average PWCC sticker on it. The reason I really enjoy that Jordan was it was well centered. So that's one of the prime reasons I went for it.
That's one of the nuances you need to pay attention to when you're buying Jordan rookies, because there are so many of them in existence. You want to make sure that you're buying one that is, I would recommend, strong for the grade, no matter what grade you can sort of afford. And if what you can afford is a 10, you want to get one with as perfect of centering that is possible. So, okay, I'm going to go to some Adam, did you have any questions for Karn before we go to some comments? Then we're going to ask him to talk about some of the cards that are in the auction.
Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick, Karn, it's really good to meet you. I've known of you for a long time. I've had actually multiple different instances where somebody says, "Hey, I'm trading with somebody. What do you think about this trade?" And who's on the other side? And they say it's Karn Rai. So, take that for what it's worth. But it's great to sort of meet you over the internet right now. And great to be able to sort of have your expertise on here. The LeBron Jordan trade's really an interesting trade. I would rather than asking you any other questions, I'd love to hear what cards you see in the auction right now. As Jeremy was just saying, that are there cards that sort of stand out to you as appealing?
Yeah, look, I play in a lot of genres here. So actually, the one that excited me the most is, I don't know if you guys have talked about it, but it's this 2000 Topps Chrome Pokemon Series 1 Sparkle Charizard PSA 10. That's actually my favorite card in the auction. It's not the most valuable, but I do think it looks the best. And if you're a 90s kid like me, nothing says nostalgia like a rectangular card stocked Charizard card. So I love it. So that's my favorite card in the
So
auction.
why I've heard several people talk about this, and I'm not a Pokemon guy. I obviously know what the big card from 1999 looks like. It showed up on our iconic 100 list, and everybody knows that card. Though I'm not saying anything by knowing that. What is it about this one, this Topps Chrome? I know it's a really tough pull, but why is it sort of worthy of being in the Premier Auction? Why is it your favorite card in the auction?
Yeah, I think it's a little backwards, but think about this as like the XRC Star Jordan instead of the Fleer Jordan. This actually comes out a year later, but it's kind of that, niche kind of Charizard that kind of gained relevance later on in time. So it wasn't well collected at the start, maybe not even the early 2010s. I think it really started picking up steam in 2016, 2017. And even then, when you wanted to search for these cards, especially the parallel better than the Sparkle, well, better is probably the wrong word, the rarer parallel called the Techno Charizard, you were not able to find that card. You were not able to find the Sparkle, no matter how hard you tried. So it was just the matter of how rare it is to actually see one, especially in this grade. And I believe it's a Pop 11, something like that, or maybe a Pop 22. So it's exceedingly rare. And with Pokemon, Pop is everything. And this is the first issue of Topps Chrome in Pokemon. So yeah, it's just a fascinating card and so amazing just to look at, and it shines brilliantly in person. So yeah, it's kind of the rundown there.
Jeremy, this is definitely the first time we've had somebody who's intelligent about Pokemon on the show. So it's good to have that little bit of diversity, Karn. Jeremy, do you have any thoughts on Pokemon, Topps Chrome Charizard cards?
I mean, not really. I think it's a fun looking card. It does not interest me for myself, but it interests me because it interests Karn, and Karn's a friend of mine. And I just like I was interested in Pokemon a year and a half ago or so, when everything was blowing up, and I wanted to learn about it. And so I had Karn on an episode of Sports Cards Live to talk about Pokemon so that I could learn and share with the audience. And then what I did is I bought a couple cards. And then what I did is I went and I watched some of the original shows. And then I realized I didn't like it. And then I was done with it. So that's my quote.
It's all about video games, Jeremy. You got to go get yourself a Pokemon color. You got to just sit on your couch and play some Pokemon for a weekend.
Play the games.
You'll love it.
Well, so that was my experience. But now my kids love Funko Pop bobbleheads. So I buy at every card show I come home with, this time I came home with 5 Funko Pops. They're all out of the box. They've all been played with. The heads have been twisted so they don't go on straight anymore because my kids are 5 and 3 and they love these things. But my kids like Pokemon. They don't know what it is. They just like the characters. They like the look. They're cartoon figures. They're just like any other action figure to them. So that's my interest in Pokemon right now. Okay, going to go to a couple comments here if that's okay with you guys. First of all, Adam Hickson says, wow, Karn Rai, big get. I got to say, Karn Rai is an easy get for me. I can get Karn Rai if I want to get Karn Rai on the show, right? But it's great to have you, Karn. Nicholas says, with regard to the expo, they did close the parking lot. I got lucky and found a spot just as they were closing it. Wow. Sasha lets us know down to 2-minute bidding intervals, drops to 1 minute at 11:30 Eastern. That is correct, I believe, 11:10 but yes, at 11:30 Eastern, the bidding intervals will drop to 1 minute, which means that if there is no bid on any item for a full minute, the auction will end for all items. Hobby Champs is high on IP autos on Topps rookie cards of junk wax era players with no certified rookie autos, only PSA DNA. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I think it's fair to be high on it. Doesn't mean I'm going to start collecting them because it's not my thing. But hey, doesn't mean that, we're not all collecting everything that's of value all the time. So good thing right there. Nicholas says the Toronto Expo brought the complete experience considering it's the mecca for hockey. Plenty of collectors have leaned into other sports, making it a more balanced market sports-wise. Yeah, I agree, Nick. There was lots of basketball, football, baseball, soccer, F1. I almost bought the 83 Hulk Hogan card there in a PSA 8 in a complete set. I didn't. It's a bit outside my lane, but I thought about it. Karn, what were your thoughts on the selection of and again, we're on the PWCC show right now, but I think it's important to share the information on kind of what's hot, what's going on in the hobby. And the Toronto Expo was a good indication of that. Even though it's in Canada, everybody, we have a lot of Americans come up for that. A lot of American vendors come up. So, Karn, what were your thoughts on the overall selection of non-hockey cards at the Expo?
Yeah, I think if we started off in 2015, I think the show was 99% hockey. It might have even been 100%, like honestly. But now I think we're starting to see 20% of the share go to other genres. You're starting to see a lot more basketball. You're starting to see a lot more F1, even Pokemon cards, TCG, soccer cards. There's a lot of vendors there are exclusively soccer cards now. So you're starting to see that diversity at the Toronto Sports Card Expo. And yeah, it's great to see. And even I think someone commented, even when you're making trades, you're starting to see a lot of other genres come to your booth to try to make trades. Basketball cards, soccer cards for a hockey card, or for a basketball card. So you're starting to see that widespread of different genres, and that opens up activity a lot more.
Well said. Good observations. I'm going to bring on the screen again here just to show what's going on in the bidding. This beautiful Essential Credentials Kobe is a BGS 9.5 hit 48,000. Zion NTRPA 85 grand now. That's a healthy amount, I think. And the contenders Brady up to 280,000. That's over 330 with buyer's premium. That's doing all right. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, as you say, can we talk about the Brady for a second? Because this is, and when we talk about like our favorite cards in the auction, I'm not going to say this is my favorite card in the auction because I'm not a football card collector. But what I would say about it is, to me, it's one of the most interesting cards. And you might say, well, why? You've had the Contenders Championship ticket of Brady up. It seems like you've got one every month. Well, this month we have two up. Right? We have two. This one is an authentic, is a card that, if the card itself was graded, would grade out as not a super high condition card. And what to me is really cool about that is a guy who collects cards, who wants to own certain cards that I'm never going to be able to afford in the highest grade. Sometimes it's neat to see one of the lower grade issues hit the open auction, because it gives people, I always say this, it gives people a chance that normally wouldn't be able to get this card a chance, because it gets within, it's still incredibly expensive, but it's not over $1 million, right? And so to me, it's kind of a cool opportunity if you want to own. What we just found out on the Iconic 100 is a card that a lot of people believe is the most iconic football card ever made.
Yeah, that sort of surprises me a little bit that this is the most iconic football card. I'm not arguing it. Listen, that's the people who voted. That's where the chips fell. But the Joe Montana, to me, the Joe Namath, the Jim Brown. These are all contenders, no pun intended, for being the most iconic card in football. And I think, but it's a sign of the times. This card is, it's a big, important, iconic card in and of itself. So I'm not going to argue with that, but I was somewhat surprised, but maybe I shouldn't have been. That might have just been a bit of naivete.
So I talked to a couple people on this, and I get that. I do, because you're not used to seeing this card when you compare it to the Jerry Rice. How many times you've seen that card? How many times you've seen the Jim Brown, or the Joe Montana was the other one that was super high. But I think we're at a point where we've got to also think about newer collectors. We've got to realize if I ask the question, Jeremy, if I change it to not what is the most iconic football card, but who is the icon of football, that's not a close question anymore. Right? We all know who the answer to that is. And so I think people have sort of started to move in their minds and said, well, if he's the most iconic player, then he ought to probably also have the most iconic card. And if that's true, then I think this is the one. But I'm actually with you. I didn't have it in my top 10, but I can tell you a lot of people did.
What about you, Karn?
Well, I'm a little biased because I do own one. So for me, it's the number one football card. Obviously, I'm a '90s kid, so I grew up in the Tom Brady era. That's mostly what I know for football, but also just a subset of a Contender's Ticket. That subset has continued on even till this day. So that even brand itself, even though it's not a playoffs Contenders card, it's still a brand where people recognize and understand. So I think the card itself is iconic because of that. And then, like Adam said, Tom Brady is, in my opinion, the face of football. So yeah, that I think I would definitely put the championship ticket in my top 10 of most iconic cards. And if you hold one in person, it's just that refractor shine is real nice, and it kind of just, it sticks with you. It's one of those cards where you definitely prize in your collection.
And it seems to have had a bid since we last saw it at 700,000 now, at least by my memory. Okay, well, good chat on that card. I'm going to go to some more comments here. We're way behind on those, but there are some that I do want to address. So first of all, LA Collection has volunteered to be our guest on the next show, and he checked. He is available that day. LA Collection, feel free to message me on Instagram. Lash Wine, I think the success of the expo gave a lot of people the collecting bug again. Junkwax Investor says the pristine BGS 10 Mario Lemieux O-Pee-Chee rookie for half the price of a PSA 10. That is somewhat surprising. However, it's important to note that the BGS 10 Mario Lemieux could be a sheet cut card, because Beckett knowingly and very deliberately was graded those. I don't know if they still do. I would guess they do grade what we call sheet cut cards, or cards that were not pack pulled, but cut from a sheet post production.
From what I understand, it was confirmed to be a sheet cut card because I was actually going after it back in the day, and it's the same copy. And I double checked first before bidding, and yeah, it was a sheet cut card. So that explains it.
And when you found that out, did you decide not to bid?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So it affects a lot of things, right?
It does. Oh, 100%. I personally don't want those cards in my collection. I want my cards pack pulled. For whatever reason, I just do. Doesn't mean it didn't come from the same factory on the same day that the other ones were printed. It was just cut and not cut later, years later, decades later, possibly, and not ever packed out. Teapot says, oh, wow, I got to see the gold LeBron in hand in the office. Didn't know it was you, Karn. Congrats. Jeff was geeked. Okay, very nice. 450 said, I saw Jeff and Karn negotiate for hours. Glad they found a deal. Karn, he says hours. How long did it take to negotiate the deal where you traded away the gold refractor out of 50 LeBron rookie in return for a PSA 10 Jordan, as well as other cards? How long did it take?
Yeah, it was a 2-day long deal, but an actual negotiation at time, it did seem like hours for real. We were back and forth, and I was pretty strong on my ass because I really, really love that LeBron gold. So it was tough to let it go.
I was surprised you let it go when you told me you did. Jacob says, if you want to know Pokemon, play the games. Frankie says Funkos are the plague. They are everywhere. They are everywhere. And I mean, I guess they're kind of cool, but to me, they're kids' toys. For me, they're my kids' toys. I don't collect them, but hey, no judgment if you do. Idners, shout out to all the Noipi collectors. Love the show. I don't know what that means, but thank you so much for being here. I think this is the one I meant to start. Teapot says great, and I'll be up till 2 a.m. watching Karn's former interview on Sports Cards Live. Hey, we'll take views on 2-year-old videos anytime, Teapot. Thank you so much. LaShwine says there's a surprising amount of non-sport at the expo as well. That's good to hear. Jacob says I'll trade a Charizard for that Temu jersey right there. I mean, that Temu jersey was actually a gift about 1.5 years ago I received from the promoter of the Sport Card Expo. It is autographed, so I can't really trade it away, Jacob, but hey, maybe send me a message and we'll talk. We'll see. It depends which Charizard we're talking about. I could always replace that and buy him dinner to make up for it. Nicholas says Expo is wild considering the non-sports cards. Good to know. Ben Diamond says the most iconic debate is so subjective. That is so true. That is the truest statement we've seen, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it came under fire from some people who took it really seriously. But Adam, it wasn't meant to be super serious, or was it?
I think it was meant to create debates. It was meant to get us talking, and it was meant to get us focused on cards, because you guys know as well as I do, most of the content that you will see out there on cards is either sort of like salacious. It's like meant to be drama, or it's about pricing, and both of those things are fine. But like, I like talking about cards. I like talking about the cards and why they're significant, why they matter, and so that was our goal, and I think it worked.
Yeah, oh, it certainly did. There was tons of talk about it, tons of debate, tons of critique, praise, all of it. I thought it was fun, man, and I hope you guys do it again. I hope you do it again. I hope you take the 150 bidders, maybe, chop off half of them, bring in half new, mix it up, do it again, expand the pool of cards from 215 to 250 maybe. Mix it up, do it again, see how the two rank as opposed to each other. It'd be a lot of fun. And then you do that, once every 2 years for 10 years. Now you got 5 versions of it. Now you combine those results and now you got a 10-year representation. But we'll save that idea for later. Jacob says, can we mention UFC cards? Feel free. We can mention UFC cards. Looks like the football game just ended. So Mark from Boston Authentic has joined us. We got Ken from Pastime has joined us. Good evening, everybody who's just coming on now. We got a big crowd here tonight. So thanks everybody for joining. Sasha says, is the Bobby Orr BVG 8 rookie also sheet cut? 13K seems cheap. I mean, PSA 7 sell for like over 20, I believe. So yeah, that's cheap. It likely is sheet cut. Karn, do you know for sure?
No idea on that one.
Okay. SGC 8.5 Rocket Richard at 13,000 is a steel iconic card. This is a card that people who don't know hockey don't really know the card, I don't think. Maurice Richard, also known as the Rocket, was like, he was to Gordie Howe what Mario Lemieux was to Wayne Gretzky, kind of the next best player in the NHL at the time. He's an absolute hero in Montreal, in the province of Quebec, and it's an amazing card. I have a PSA 4 in my collection, and I absolutely adore it. To me, a very important, maybe a top 10 hockey card of all time for me. LA Collection says, Jay Lee, get ready to fall in love with me. I have 1686 OPG Patrick Waugh rookie cards, all PSA 7s to 9s. That's a great card. Patrick Waugh is a great rookie card, so good to hear. All right, let's go. And I will brace myself for falling in love with you. Let's go back to the ticker, guys. Kobe Bryant, exquisite, 2003 exquisite with another bid, Adam. Luca, not the logo man Luca, but the Luca Flawless looks like an RPA with a bid. And what is this? Who is that? Is that Zion?
Yeah.
Zion card getting a bid. Going back to favorites now, you'll notice we're not going into the listings like we have in the past, because PWCC has changed the listing format to include the video, the 360, the photographs. It's just too hard on my internet connection right now, so I'm not able to go into the listings. Otherwise, I lose the program. Comments, Adam?
No, I mean, I think that's exactly right. I think I wouldn't jump in and to the auctions either at this point. If you do, we're gonna lose signal.
All right. Max says, love seeing this many new names and faces in the chat. I got to agree with that. Again, welcome everyone who's new to Sports Cards Live, new to the PWCC Premier Auction coverage that Adam and I have been doing for over a year and a half now. We will continue to do this every month. We love it. We bring on a special guest each month. This month, we got Karn Rai, also known as at the Big 3 Hockey on Instagram. You're probably following him already, but if you're not, give him a follow. Adam is the Real 27 guy on Instagram. I'm sure you're following him. Of course, follow PWCC Marketplace on Instagram as well. Boston Authentic says there was a photo matched Rocket Richard jersey at the last gray flannel jersey. Forgot to mention it to you. That's a really cool piece for sure. LA Collection, looking forward to your next Friday dinner burger rants, Adam. It's like Crosby to Ovechkin, says Jacob, when we're talking about Maurice Richard to Gordie or Mario Lemieux to Wayne Gretzky. I would flip it around though, Jacob. I know your emojis are meaning it's more like we're probably thinking Ovechkin to Crosby versus Crosby to Ovechkin, but I hear what you're saying. Stale product wants to, who's going to Chicago this weekend? I believe it's the big Chicago show coming up here this weekend. So Adam, go.
Yeah, real quick. The thing that I just noticed is that half bidding has been enabled, and we get questions on this every month. Half bidding is something that you can elect to do once on a given item. So if you're eligible for bidding and you're sort of waiting for that moment where you can select half of a normal bid increment, now is the time for you to be able to do that. But you can only do it once. You can only do it one time per auction.
One time per listing or one time per Premier Auction?
Excuse me, yes. One per item, per
item. That's an important distinction. When I won my item last month, which was the Jerry Rice PMG Red, well, everybody was fawning over the green. I swooped in and grabbed the red. I used my half bid. I didn't know that it was one per listing. I thought it was one per night. So good to know that moving forward here. This LeBron here, the ultimate rookie. I love this card. It's getting some bids. And if you're noticing, this ticker is moving pretty quick right now. So there's big bidding activity happening right now. Karn, are you, and you don't have to answer this, but are you bidding on anything? Is there anything you're looking to add from this auction tonight?
I am. I'm actually winning 2 items. I'll share near the end here, but yeah, I'll be super excited if I get them at the prices I'm winning at right now. So yeah, let's see. I'll share it with the team here, and we'll see if I get them. And on the LeBron Ultimate, I just wanted to make a quick note. I love that card. In a PSA 10, that card just has a slightly kind of not perfect auto. It's kind of streaky. So I would have expected it to be a lot higher in a PSA 10 grade, but I just checked it out right now, and that's probably why it's going for $95K right now. So yeah, I just wanted to note that.
If it had a perfect auto, what would you expect that card to sell for today?
It's done upwards of probably 250, 275 in a PSA 10 grade, but taking into account today's market, I would say probably 150 if the auto grade was perfect on that card. And there is a BGS 9.5 in the auction right now. So it's interesting to see kind of the showdown between the PSA 10 and the BGS 9.5. The 9.5 has a slightly better auto. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than the PSA 10, and they're pretty close in price. And usually the PSA 10 really demolishes the BGS 9.5 in that particular card.
Yeah, for sure. And I was noticing the Steve Nash PMG Green up to 60K, continuing to get bids. And look at this Michael Jordan 06 Jambalaya at $27,000 in a PSA 10. I mean, that's $39,000 now, still getting bids. That's a healthy number for there. And there we go. The Mahomes gold vinyl PSA 10 at $170,000. So the bids are coming fast and furious right now. We are in the 1 minute extended bidding window right now. Again, that means that if there is no bid placed on any of the 442 lots for a 60-second span, the auction will end. It looks like someone might have used their half bid on the Steve Nash. It's up to 62.5 now. And there's the Bryce Harper Superfractor up to 320. That's 384 with buyer's premium. It's a healthy number. It's a healthy number. What if he would have won the World Series this year? Would that be even higher? What do you guys think? Start with you, Karn.
I think the opposite way. What if he didn't perform as historically as he did? What would the number be? Because he played lights out, right? I think if he won the World Series, it might have been a slight bump, but how well he played probably increased that card's number by even 2x. So yeah, it's interesting to see.
Adam, any comments?
No, I think Karn's spot on. I think player performance matters more than just about anything, but you never know what causes somebody to bid and what causes them not to bid. The thing that is sure is that's the Bryce Harper card. We haven't seen too many Bryce Harpers in the Premier Auction. That's obviously the nicest one. So it's good to see it. It's good to see it getting that action.
Yeah, it really is. It is a beautiful card. Jacob says Ovechkin more fun to watch. Crosby better hockey player. Yeah, that might be a perfect way to explain it right there. Sensory Perception says, let's hear your thoughts on the Magic the Gathering cards that are up for bid. So I'm not qualified to discuss them at all. I don't know if you are, Adam. I think maybe Karn, you seem to know something about the TCG niche. What are you able to comment on the Magic cards that are up? And I'd love to bring them up, but I'm just not going to based on technical issues.
Yeah, I don't actually know much about Magic outside of the Black Lotus card, and I think that's the one in auction though. So yeah, it's a beautiful card. I know there's two variations. There's the unlimited version and the black border one. I think there's a specific name for it. But yeah, they're very rare cards and in high grade, very tough to find. So big bid, $60,000, $57,000 after BP.
Jordan Ruby's with another bid up to 140K. I mean, we were talking earlier that, this card I would have expected to be about 250, 220 to 240 in that range. And here we have it at $168,000 out the door. We're encroaching upon those numbers that I don't know. I think there was a lot, again, we talked about this at the beginning, but it seemed like there were a lot of people who have platforms, and that's everybody on Instagram has a platform now, expressing concern. The way this auction is going so far, Adam, the way I'm seeing it, and Karn, pretty healthy. This is indicating a healthier hobby than today than I think some people thought we were at. So just a comment I make there. Sasha says, I'm sure no one wants to give away exactly what they're bidding on until everything ends. How about asking who is winning bidding on any items at this stage? I am bidding and winning one item. That's a great question, Sasha. Thanks for asking it. If anyone else in the chat, if you haven't already put it in there and I just haven't seen it yet, are you bidding? Are you winning anything? Karn is in on 2 items. He's winning them. Who else is winning, bidding? And if you're selling items, feel free to let us know what they are even. That's always fun as well. Vintage Card Collector says, do you know if anyone has cataloged all Brady Championship tickets by serial number? Wondering how many of the 100 are graded. Do either of you know the answer to that? Because I certainly do not.
No, but I do know like 24 have sold in the last year and a half, though. So that's a large number.
But is that 24 unique copies, or are there some of the same copies in there?
Probably some of the same in there, but 24 six-figure cards out of 100, even in auction in a 16-month span is pretty big, and I think that's going to dry out at some point. So I actually do want to go back in one day and look at all the unique serial numbers. So I'll probably actually do that here in the short term and maybe list it somewhere. Yeah,
that's some good data right there. Kryptonite says Birds of Paradise and Siobhan Dragon card thoughts, guys. Thanks, Magic the Gathering. No thoughts. Sorry, Kryptonite, but just don't know enough about Magic. Black Lotus is the only card I've heard of, but I never played Magic as a kid. It kind of came along a bit after I was of that, probably in the demographic to play it. Adam.
Yeah, the thing that I would say is I'm not a Magic guy. Okay, so every time we have a card that hits the Premier Auction that needs a video, I'm doing research beforehand, and it's interesting. It's very similar to sports cards in a lot of ways. Now, I don't recognize the characters other than, like you guys, the Black Lotus. But all you have to do is go and look and sort of do some research and find out which cards are really important to the game, which cards are really rare, and then which cards are really rare in a specific condition. Right. And so for one of these Magic the Gathering cards to make it into the Premier Auction, it has to be one of the Power 9 cards in Magic the Gathering or something close to that. One of the premier best types of Magic cards in premium condition. And so, if you want to sort of have a project where you can sort of really go down a rabbit hole, look at the populations on the cards that are currently up in the Premier Auction. What you're going to see is a lot of cards that have been graded and a lot that are not in as high a grade as the ones that you're seeing here. And there we go. Another bid for the Harper. Wow.
I just want to say that is now $408,000 with buyer's premium. So the Harper has eclipsed the $400,000 threshold or milestone, which is pretty cool. This beautiful Babe Ruth's at $25,500. It's a PSA 4.5. And again, I do love that card. I want to go to Richard Price's comment here. He says, in the 1935 National Chiclet, I think, is the most iconic card in football card collecting. Maybe I'm just an old dinosaur. He goes on to clarify he does mean Bronco Nagurski. So, I mean, when I called out those iconic cards before, I deliberately left out the Bronco Nagurski because, most people right now, like 40 years old and under, might not have ever heard of him. And I make that comment carefully because I don't know for sure. But I don't, it's one of those cards that it's not a Honus Wagner that is still all over the place in headlines. I don't know. People, it's kind of like the George Mikan gets a lot more airtime, at least for where I am, than the Bronco Nagurski. And for those reasons, I don't think people, yes, you make, he makes Richard Price makes the comment, maybe I'm an old dinosaur. And don't be so harsh on yourself if that's harsh, but that might partially be the reason why you call it out. Not to discount its importance in the history, the body of work that our hobby has going back to like 1888, maybe even before. I agree. It's an important card. I believe it's on PSA's Mount Rushmore of football cards. But today in 2022, I don't know how many people really care about Bronco Nagurski. I just don't know. I think they care about Jim Thorpe more. Adam, you're kind of making some facial responses. What do you think of all that?
Well, I'm glad you noticed that. It was one of the most divisive cards, polarizing type cards that we saw in the voting. There were people who had it top 10. Like amongst all cards, there were a lot of people that had it amongst top 10, but only something like 25% of the people who filled out a top 75 even included the card. And so if you're a big time historian of football, you're going to look at that card and say, look, that is one of the cards. But the reality is, Jeremy, it's exactly what you just said. Like, it doesn't hardly ever go up for auction. A lot of people don't know it exists, especially people who are in our age group. And so unless you're somebody who's really immersed in the history of the sport and of the history of the hobby, there's a good chance you don't know that exists. And then the question is, well, how do you define iconic? Is it iconic just to those people who really know the history, or is it iconic to the whole of the hobby? And I think those are two different questions, and they have two different answers.
Well said, man. Well said overall. And I multitask. I'm listening and I'm looking at comments to see what we're going to go to next. And here's where we're going to go next. First of all, Ken from Pastime says, with relation to the Lotus, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and 2 collectors gold border. So 5 versions of the Black Lotus. Just want to call out the PSA 2 Mickey Mantle, which looks really nice from here for a 2. Is it 40,000, 48 out the door? Not my chair. Welcome to the show. Says I'm in on 3 cards, but out on 2. So winning 1. Has bids in on 3, losing 2, winning 1. Good luck to you on that. Not my chair. Nicholas Martelli says, do you guys think, although North American economies are down, you think we can have a mini boom again as people look elsewhere to find equity or liquidity? I don't know if this auction and the last week in the hobby, from what I've experienced, or any indication that maybe we can. Nick, Karn, any comments on where the where the economy is at now, and could we experience a mini boom again?
Yeah, it's always tough to predict those type of things, right? I think you got to just go day to day and feel the pulse and feel the activity going on. Just personally, how are the people around you doing in cards? Are people willing to make trades? Are people willing to buy and sell? I think if you're just in tune day to day, you'll quickly realize where the hobby is going. And I think if it's any indication of today's auction here and a lot of people of what they've experienced this past weekend at the Toronto Sports Card Expo, the hobby seems healthy and there's a lot of electricity right now. And I think you might see some good activity going on here in the short term.
And now is a good time to have that sort of spike of good vibes, good, strong activity going into the holiday season. It's almost the perfect time for that to happen, to maybe carry the hobby through into Super Bowl season, into basketball playoffs, into hockey playoffs, baseball starting up again, and all that. Adam, jump in.
So, yeah, totally unrelated, but I just got a text from a friend who I think he's probably bidding for the first time in the auction. And he said, quote, I want to read it the right way. He says, quote, does the auction ever end? LOL. And I think this is a fair question, especially if you're like on the edge of your seat, hoping that your card doesn't pop up into this top group. Just remember that little counter in the top right. Once it hits triple zeros and it says that the auction is over, it's over. But we've got to have 60 full seconds of no items in the whole auction getting a bid. And when that happens, they'll all end. The other thing that I want to add real quick, Jeremy, is you noticed this when we hit the 1 minute of extended bidding intervals. There was just a huge number of bids all at once. And that's because a lot of people, their strategy is to place their bids early and then wait till the very end and then just bid on all the stuff that they're interested in. Now that a lot of that is sort of passed, there's a lot of people have placed their final bids at this point. So I think we're definitely in the area where you sort of have to start watching the clock a little closer than we have over the last couple hours.
Yeah. Well said. And Sasha asked the question here. He says, you were saying typically 2 to 2.25 hours. Any idea what the longest premiere was? I think we usually go for 3.5 hours. We start at 6:30 Pacific. We ended about, 10 o'clock Pacific, midnight Eastern. So we're 15. Does that make sense? Because we started at 7:30 our time, Adam. We're now 2.25 hours in. I think we're going to go for another hour probably. So we'll see. But we're often surprised.
Maybe I think we've had them. I think we've been done around. It's 9:45 our time. I think we've been done around like 10 or 10:15 a couple times. So it's kind of anybody's guess at this point, I think.
Okay, let's keep on going to some comments here. Nick Martelli says, well, based on some of the auction spikes, I think it might be a good time for a lot of collectors. And yeah, especially if you're selling your cards in this auction, I think you're doing okay. Now, we're not seeing everything, but I think you're doing okay on some of them. Frankie for the chat makes a bunch of comments on Magic the Gathering. Thank you, Frankie, for sharing your knowledge with the chat. Sasha says, Adam, you were right in that there are no signed Bronco Nagurski rookies in the POP report. Very interesting. Chris Hoge says, I know about the Bronco Nagurski thanks to Kevbo Jones of Clubhouse. Too funny. I don't know why that's funny, but I'm sure it's very funny. Very good. Very good. Frankie says, high grades of the early sets of Magic are extremely rare. Many people kept them tied up with rubber bands. Yeah, they played with these things. That's reminiscent of why sports cards, vintage cards are valuable today, because they were played with, they were traded with, they were thrown against walls and put in the spikes of your bicycles. Nikita says, I think the pop of the Nagurski gets in the way of younger generation knowing about it. There's just not enough of them out there, I think is what you're saying. And yes. I used to hear about Bronco Nagurski in the hobby 10 years ago. Up to 10 years ago, I was hearing about him. It was a card that I was looking at because I want the important cards. Yeah. And now, we're not hearing about it. It's not that we don't recognize or understand what Bronco Nagurski meant to football as a pioneer of the sport. And I mean, you look at the guy, he was an absolute beast. It's just how important is the card today? And jump in, Adam. Sure.
I was just gonna say, I don't remember the exact number, but I remember I did the video on this one with Kiki. And I think he said, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, somebody can check in the chat. I think it was like there's 180 of them across all grades for PSA. Just to give you guys an idea, like I just picked this up, show off my new card that I got yesterday. There's like 2 or 3 times as many Mykins as there is of the Nagurski. And Mykin is well known as like not only being the card of basketball, vintage basketball, but being really rare as well. So that I think Nikita's comment spot on.
Doug Brenner says the Bronco is grail for me. Hope to own one someday. And Teapot says the Nagurski not being in the top 100 was crazy to me. It's a top 3 most iconic football card. I mean, it certainly was at one point. Is it still a top 3 most iconic? Has Brady surpassed him and popped him out? And now maybe it's Montana and Jim Brown and Joe Namath. And I mean, I don't know. This is all subjective. There's no right answer, I don't think. But I was surprised that it wasn't in the top 100. I think it was 101. Isn't that where it fell at him? Like just outside and created some controversy right out of the gate for the list, right?
If it would have had one more person vote on it out of the 150, or if one more person would have had it 5 spots higher on their list, it would have been card number 100 instead of the Ted Williams. So it really was so close to making it, but it just missed out.
Jay Mess says crypto loss is killing the card market. Same type of investor. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, I suppose, because the card market, first of all, is not dead. It hasn't been killed. It's actually pretty healthy. It's very healthy, actually. And, crypto investors were only a thing in the hobby in the last, 14, 15 months. So the fact that they came and went really quick, hobby's doing pretty well since relative to before the pandemic and before the whole crypto thing was even a thing. So I'm just going to completely disagree with Jay Mess's comment. It almost seems like a comment trying to hurt the hobby versus trying to help it. Corey RC 1987 with a tip for the host says, you guys feel too many big cards ending same day. We hear a lot of talk about there's several auction houses in the space, PWCC being among them. And are there too many of these big cards ending on the same night or the same week or the same month between them? And should the auction houses somewhat work together to space these things out? I think that's what the comment is getting at. And my thought is not going to be a popular one. My thought is that the auction houses are here to serve a purpose, which is to sell cards for their clients at their client's request, not at their whim. It's not, I don't think it's up to them to decide when cards sell. It's up to the hobby, right? If I want to sell something on Facebook Marketplace, I can go sell it there, right? I don't care what other people are selling. So I understand the hobby sentiment that it might hurt cards because there's too many to go around. But Karn, let's hear from you on this particular. I see you're very busy, Karn, bidding on your items, so you've been able to sit back. But what are your thoughts on too many cards? On just, should auction houses talk to each other about spacing things out, i.e. manipulating the free trade and the capitalist society we live in, or should they just sell cards as their clients ask them to?
Yeah, I think I'm in complete agreement with you there, Jeremy. I think you have to sell cards when your customers want to sell them, or your clients, right? I think also big auctions actually attract more viewers. I think when you have a lot of big cards, you actually go and check the auction out, and you spend a lot more time viewing it and discussing it with your friends. And for a whole month, I've been talking about this auction. I've been talking about what's a better buy. Is it the Prism Black 1/1 Auto Mahomes, or is it the Super Bowl ticket? That's been a long discussion that I've had with my friends out here. And those are discussions you have because there's big cards in the auction. There's more. There's even hockey cards. There's a Future Watch auto patch of McDavid up right now. And there's one of Sidney Crosby, both in the same grade, PSA 9, BGS 9. And it creates dialogue. It creates discussion, talking about all these high-end cards, kind of pitted against each other to try to assess, okay, which ones are better, which ones are going to sell more. I think it creates a lot more excitement when there are bigger cards all in one auction. And I think the wallets open up more too, because definitely mine is opening up right now. And I was actually zooming into an auto to decide if I wanted to make a half bid on something. So yeah, I think bigger auctions are fun, and it creates attention.
So one sec, Adam, I really want to quickly point out the nugget that you just said was I zoomed in on the auto to decide if I wanted to make the half bid. I think that's an important point because it just shows that when you're buying these big cards, you have to look at all the detail. And Karn is focusing in on the autograph, a very important aspect, of course, on any card with a pack pulled auto, if not all autos. Adam, what were you going to say?
I forgot. I was listening to what you were saying. Maybe it'll come back to me. Sorry.
All right. Chris Ellis says, and he laughs, LOL. Great that people don't understand the significance of Bronco Nagurski. I will buy them up cheap and resell in 5 to 10 years during the next economic upturn. I don't think you can buy them cheap, though, Chris Ellis. They're still highly sought after and very expensive cards. So good luck with that. But I don't think you're going to be able to do that. And then Mark at Boston Authentic says, if your first name is Bronco, your card deserves to be number one, which I'm not going to argue with that comment at all. And again, this isn't a knock on Bronco's card. It's simply, is it the most iconic football card? Is it a top 3 most iconic football card? You know, if old means that it has to be, then sure, it's the it's from the first set of football cards, so it has to be the most iconic. But I don't know if being from the first set is really a prerequisite of being the most iconic. I just don't know. But again, it's subjective. We're all entitled to our own opinions on that. No one is right. No one is wrong. Even if you think you're right, you might not be. Jacob says, actual question, no idea trading card that is sought after. And we've had some called out. Sweat Brothers calls out the 33 Sport King. And Jay Mess, I like his call. Will not be taken out for at least 50 years. Listen, Jay Mess, you can't state that as fact. I do like the comment, but you cannot state as fact that he won't be taken out for at least 50 years. Although you're probably right. He probably won't be, but you just never know. And Punt Pass Click says there are not enough Nagurskis going for sale. There's one on eBay right now versus a dozen plus 1948 George Mikens.
A dozen plus? Do I believe that? I gotta go look.
I'm not sure. And I can't keep up with the comment. They're just coming too fast and furious. So I'm going to just sort of skip all the way down to the bottom. Well, here was a couple comments. I'm going to go through these anyways. Keith says, I think Nagurski argument of it being undervalued or overvalued shows that vintage football is undervalued. Also, love that you, Jeremy, brought up the Jim Thorpe card as an iconic. Thanks, Keith. Joe says, how is the BGS 9.5 Jambalaya only at $35K? Yeah, I agree. I think that's low. I'm probably biased considering I own a copy of the card. I would expect it to go for more. Jacob says, hard to compare McDavid to Crosby, different eras, but they are both still playing. Yeah, they're both still playing. It's an easier comparison than Crosby to Gretzky, let's say, but I hear what you're saying still. Corey, this is important. I think I totally agree with you guys in that aspect. I didn't know PWCC listed items as they're received. I figured they just get put into a queue and that was it at the auction house's discretion. I think they work with their clients to decide when to list, but I don't think that PWCC is really, in my opinion, the auction house is there to serve the consignor, not to decide for the consignor when the card should list. If I'm a consignor and I want my money soon, I want that card going in the next auction. But if they're not going to put it there, I'll probably listen to why. If they advise me and say, hey, I think that, we already have 4 in the auction, or there's already 1 in the auction, we recommend that you have us list it next month. I'm probably going to take that for what it's worth, unless I need the money sooner, in which case I'm going to say, hey, sell it or I'm taking it elsewhere. Adam, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, this is what I was actually going to mention earlier. I think it's fun to think about this question, Jeremy, from the perspective of what if we did at PWCC, what if we did what some people would suggest, which is don't list cards when we're asked to. I mean, can you imagine? Like, hey, I have this card, I need to sell it now. It's important for me to sell it. And PWCC says, no, we have our mandate. We're only going to do 400 items in the Premier Auction. Your item's worth enough, but no, we're not going to sell it for you. Like, how would that serve anybody? Like, we have to be able to sell the cards that we have when we want to, whether they're priced high or low, according to the community, right? You've got to be able to sell a card when you want to be able to sell a card. And so, I like the people out there who are like, I wish there weren't so many auctions out there. Well, I think it's great because it gives you an opportunity to sometimes find some of the grail cards that rarely pop up for auction. And I think it's great that we have a free market where people can sell things when they want to. And if that means that they're going down and they're still going to sell them, then that's fine. And if they're going up and people want to sell them, that's fine too.
Yeah, I can't really think of a way around that position. I know that a lot of the hobby would like there to be, a bit of corroboration between the auction houses on when things are listed. I just don't think that's what I don't think that's their function. I just don't, doesn't add up to me. Signed in Slab says vintage football requires some studying, but there are some really great cards out there, especially from the early to mid 50s. Make sure you research those pop reports. That's a great suggestion. Make sure you research the pop reports. When you're researching pop reports, you have to also consider that they're not accurate. I don't know that there's a single accurate pop report out there. simply because of the crack and resubmit game that is played out there. So research them, but understand that they're probably overinflated by up to 30%. I would guesstimate that they're probably overinflated by that, especially the lower grades. I don't think 10s are under. I don't think 10s are too misrepresented in the pop reports, but every grade below is likely misrepresented because people love to try to get a higher grade by submitting the same card over and over again. And then you could have one card being in the pop report, 5, 6, 10 times. And that's one of the weaknesses of pop reports that I think it's important to know. But if you then think about it, it's probably like relative, right? If that's the case for all the cards, then just take it for what it is. Understand that they're all 30% over expressed, and just move on with your life and don't worry about it too much. Dave Kaplan says they tend to not list two of the same iconic card of the same grade in the same Premier Auction. So he's only that's my understanding as well. That's only for PWCC. Doesn't mean that a competing auction house is listing the same iconic card in the same grade in the same week somewhere else, though. So
that's right, and that again is to protect the sellers. It's not, we don't want to prevent somebody from being able to get liquidity, and they can obviously always have it listed on the fixed marketplace and things like that. But if you imagine, Jeremy, if you were to list one of your prize cards and then you were to find out that somebody listed the same card in the same grade at the same time, you just wouldn't feel good about that. And so it's all about sort of protecting the seller or the consignor, and also sort of providing liquidity as fast as they want it to at the same time. It's a tough dance, but we do our best to sort of let people know, hey, this might not be a good time, or, but if they're the same grade, yeah, we've got a pretty hard and fast rule.
So do you think there's ever been a time where PWCC sales has said to a consignor, you know what, thanks for submitting or wanting to submit the card, but we're not going to list it for 3 months because there's 2 cards ahead of you. And the consignor says, well, forget it, I'm taking it elsewhere. Like, does that happen?
Absolutely. It happens. It happens all the time. And I get why somebody's going to feel that way, because if they need their cash, they need their cash. But we have to be fair to the person who's listed it first. And so these are the sort of questions, though, that I'm glad we get to have this sort of dialogue on the show, because, sometimes people just like look at it from this really cynical, bad perspective, which is like, why is the auction house doing this thing? It's like, we're doing this thing usually because we just need to look out for our consignors and try to help them get the very best prices. But besides that, we want to sell your cards. And we're really proud that we have 11,000 cards in the weekly auction ending on Sunday, Jeremy. We have 450 items-ish here in the Premier Auction. Like, we've exploded in terms of the quantity and the quality of the cards that we have, and we're proud of that. We want to be able to help people. And so that's what we're in business to do. And if we keep growing, that's a good thing. So we're not going to turn people away when they want to sell their cards.
So and I see Karn nodding in agreement. And I just, I think I certainly would never expect auction houses to work together on this. But I do like that PWCC won't list the same iconic card in the same grade in the same Premier Auction. You will in the weekly, though, you can see multiples of the same card, and that's fine. And I mean, I'm actually not surprised, because I think it makes sense for the clients. And I like to hear that you will work with the clients to make sure that, listen, we don't want to list it this month because there's someone else who's ahead of you sent it in first, and we promised them that they're going to be the only card in the auction, and you can't list it. So you have an option. Leave it with us. We'll sell it when we can, or take it elsewhere. Not our first choice, but you have that right, of course. So it's a difficult sort of area to navigate, I'm sure, for PWCC and other auction companies. Steve Sue asks, does the bid shown include buyer's premium, or is that applied after? And that is applied after, Steve. The bid shown on the screen and down here on the listings does not include buyer's premium. The nice thing about the PWCC website, though, and platform, is that as soon as the auction ends, it flips and shows it with the buyer's premium.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's so clear, Steve. You couldn't possibly place a bid without knowing what your final price would be. And so there's no hiding anything on this, but you're seeing it on the outside. And as soon as you go inside, you click on it. It's in big, bold letters. Jeremy, you bid on the rice last month. Was that your experience?
Yeah, as soon, yeah. When you bid, you know what the buyer's premium is going to be with it. They don't hide that from you and make you calculate it in your head or pull out a calculator or turn on Excel. Yeah, it's right there for you. So, this is a 2.6. Was it at 2.5 last we looked at it, or did it already? No, it had the bid, didn't it? It had
We
the
saw
bid.
that about maybe an hour ago.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't remember. I'd love to see more bids on that. That to me is the most fun card of the night. Jeff Hart says a perfect example of auction ending together is tonight. PWCC Premier, Heritage, Alt, and Collect auctions, which I haven't heard of. That's something where I think that the auction companies do kind of consider their competitors' schedule, but no, there might be some strategy to ending on the same night. There might be some ending the night before, the night after. You just, leave it up to them. They're the experts in this field. Sasha says here, ultimately, they have to do right by their clients. They might suggest to list it in the next auction if the card is already listed, but if the consignor needs to sell it, then it's listed. And I think that's going to be the case in most occurrences, unless there's been a commitment to someone else that there won't be any more of them there. So that's I see there's talk about cheeseburgers in the chat right now. Signed in Slab says, I think the main issue was just the number of different auction houses all ending and into extended bidding on the same night. I've got carpal tunnel from all the tabbing back and forth. Yeah, that is an issue, but is it really an issue that needs to be corrected, or is it the way the world works? I don't know. And listen, I'm all for the hobby. I'm all for the hobby growing and being healthy. And if this is unhealthy, then we got to balance out what is just the way the world works versus what is healthy and unhealthy. I don't know the answer, but I'd like to see it optimized. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see it optimized for the best, for the betterment of the hobby. Kind of at the bottom of the comments now for like the first time tonight. We're only 2.5 hours in.
Karn, how's the bidding going? You doing okay?
Still winning, so seems like I might have it in the bag. We'll see.
I love it.
That's how I felt last month with the PMG Red Jerry Rice. I was like on pins and needles here, hoping the thing would end so that I could win the card. And Adam, if you remember, it's like it was loading and then it started again at 59 seconds. Like, come on, no one bid on that card. I want to get it for what? I don't want to have to put another bid in. I won't put another bid in. I want the darn card, and luckily for me, maybe not the seller, but for me, I got it for my max bid. So I was happy about that. Jacob says, let's get you some physical therapy and a night brace so you can tan more. Not sure what that's in relation to, but sounds sort of funny, I guess. Corey RC, I have no insight into what the future holds in regards to Fanatics. I keep hearing from people that I think know what they're talking about, that the deal is done, something that they're in terms of buying Panini. That's all I know. That's all. And I don't know it. That's what I hear. And it's all hearsay. No clue. Karn, are you hearing anything about what's going on with Fanatics, Panini, or Fanatics in general in terms of the future?
It's actually been a little quiet in the last couple of weeks. I think the last update we got was that behind the scenes there was a deal that was done, but we haven't heard anything since. But legal work takes a lot of time, and we might not hear anything for a year or two. So I think we just got to sit back and watch the show.
Exactly. Chris Hoge says, wait, Jeremy, did you win the Rice PMG Red? I did, Chris. I swooped in last month when everybody was talking about the green PMG. Nobody was talking about the red PMG Jerry Rice. And I took that moment and I made my move, Chris. I did. And it's in the vault. It's in the PWCC vault. I will be taking it out of the vault and into my personal possession because I want to hold it and just look at it and care for it like it deserves to be cared for by its biological father, who is me.
Hey, Jeremy, real quick before I forget, Vintage Card Collectors asked a few questions about the Mike and Auto.
Yeah, I was
currently.
Thanks for bringing it up. I was gonna bring that up next for you right there.
So the question that he asked earlier was, do you think that there's a chance that this card could be trimmed because it's in a blue label PSA holder? I have no idea whether it's trimmed or not. I can't tell based on looking on the outside of it What I can say definitively is, look, there's just not a lot of Mikan 48 Bowman autograph cards. It's obviously a card that I really like, right? You know, it's one that we've talked a little bit about earlier on the show because, you know, it's one of the biggest vintage basketball cards of all time. But I would just caution you to look really close at the card. Maybe sort of try to compare it to some other cards, to some other ones that aren't trimmed, and try to line it up to see if it measures out right, if that's something that really matters to you. But as a collector of autographs on vintage cards, to me, that's one that, you know, I don't have to tell anybody this who's interested in that one. That's one that you don't see very often. And so even if you do come to the realization that it is trimmed, and again, I don't know, I have no idea, like no clue, it still might be an opportunity on that one, because I think, if I remember right, I think there's like 8 in the whole population on that card. It's just a really rare one.
Lion card alert on the
why do you like the Lions? I mean, he played for the Lions. It makes sense, right? It makes sense.
Yeah, but were there ever like he's actually rushing the football in this picture right here? Was a Lion ever beside him on the field? Like, it doesn't.
All of his teammates were Lions. Maybe it's his teammate. We don't know.
Yeah, that okay. You know, you're convincing me. That makes sense. I'll stick with it. I don't want a Lion on my football cards, but I mean, you know, unless it's the Detroit Lions uniform.
I saw a Grant Slayton post that was one of the cards that he thought was one of the coolest, like, 90s inserts for football. And I don't know 90s football the way that the other people do, but when he says something like that, I sort of go, okay, that's interesting. I think I'm kind of with you. It's like, it's an animal. It's on a card. Why is there an animal? Well, I guess he's a lion. But it is the thing that I would point out that's kind of cool, Jeremy, that I think you'll appreciate. It's neat that it just popped up right as I'm talking about this. Look at how he's all the way to one side of the card. Mm-hmm. Like, the lion is a major focus of the card. They built that into it. It may not be a piece of art that you like, but it's certainly a piece of art. Put it that way.
No, fair. And I mean, hey, the fact that some people love the card and some don't, I mean, it's just an opinion. It's just where I fall. And you know, you can throw out any argument you want on it, and you're not going to convince me that I want that card in my collection.
Yes.
Simple as that, okay. Right?
That's okay.
Simple as that. Here we have Josh. Cardboard Chronicle says, was Jerry Rice ever running through radioactive red lava though? No, he wasn't. But that, and just like, you know, I have a Shaquille O'Neal PMG red with propellers or wind whatever they're called in the picture, turbines. No, they don't. They never did. But I don't know, something about it, I just like the card more for whatever reason. I mean, I don't need to justify why I like a card or why I don't, but that's just where I fall on it. I will listen. It's a neat card, but it's a novelty card for me. To me, it's a novelty card. Take it for what it's worth. Sasha says, I don't mind all the auctions ending when I know what I want, gets eyes away from the card I'm buying. It does help the buyers when there are competing auctions. The sellers, not as much. Peep says, I'm not convinced Fanatics will buy Panini. I mean, fair comment right there for sure, because we don't really know for sure what's going on. Somebody out there probably does, especially the parties involved, but we, as the general populace, likely do not know what's going on. Joe bets that Karn is winning the BGS 9.5 Michael Jordan Jambalaya. Karn smiles, but we did hear him say he was looking at autographs before, so I guess we'll find out by the end of the show. Corey says, I keep hearing the Fanatics wants to put sports cards everywhere, selling them at sporting events as well. That's definitely something that I've heard as well. Kryptonite, any thoughts on the movie coming out behind the card? No thoughts on it yet. I was somewhat surprised by some of the people that I saw that are featured in the movie. It seems like they went for stars versus collectors. From what I saw, I'm guessing that there's more people. I didn't even see a trailer. I just saw some content on it. So, but hey, I'm definitely going to watch it.
Jordan with another bid. Maybe Karn's bidding on the Jordan rubies.
I love that card, so it might be that one.
I do love it as well. Joe says low pro Jay Lee for the color match win. I think talking about the Jerry Rice I bought last month is a color match. It is red Jerry Rice on a red lava sort of background. And I don't know, some cards are just some cards just are bigger than like, gimmicky. To me, the lion on the, just looks gimmicky to me for whatever reason. What else we got? Wow, we're so behind on comments here, but thanks everybody for all of them. Yeah, the timer does get there's anxiety in the timer when we look at it. This I forget what this is called, Galaxy something or other Jordan here. I really like this card. I'd love to own a copy. I've looked at them, I've held them, I've thought about it, but I've never picked up a copy of this Michael Jordan 90s insert, a very popular one as well. Love the exquisite right there. We talked about that earlier. I do like this comment by Josh, though. Was Jerry Rice ever running through radioactive red lava, though? I mean, you'd have to ask Jerry himself if that ever happened. I don't know. We'd have to ask him. Signed and slabbed. I'd probably look to reslab the Mikan into the new holder. Do you guys think it really matters that much on a card like that if the card would grade or not? I don't really care. Sometimes it's about owning the card, but Adam, go ahead.
From a value perspective, I think it does matter a lot. From me as a collector, my perspective, I personally don't care a lot, but I know a lot of people do. So good question.
James, speaking about fanatics buying Panini, says it makes no sense for them to buy them when they already have their own company. I think that's completely wrong, James.
Agreed.
I think that you're not just buying, you're buying brands, you're buying the people, the employees, you're buying the infrastructure, you're buying the connections, you're buying the experience, you're buying the network. That if that's the case, then why does M&A even exist? If people, why do companies ever merge and consolidate? It's for synergies, it's for market share, it's for valuation. I think, James, you're way off on that comment, but thanks for throwing it out there nonetheless. Sasha says, what about the signed Michael Jordan star rookie? Likely the highest sale of a star rookie ever, and also might be the finest example of a signed star rookie. Seems potentially cheap at $110,000. We'll start with you, Karn, because you've been busy bidding. Do you need a refresher on the question, or did you catch that?
No, I caught it. What's it at right now? 110.
132.
132. Yeah, so that is the highest sale ever. So yeah, that's pretty neat. I think finding a bold auto on that card is extremely rare, and the star rookie is kind of catapulting to that top of Jordan, even rookie cards. I know that's a debate. I don't know what we're calling it these days. Is it an XRC? Is it a rookie? But yeah, it's definitely climbing the ladder. And that card with a nice, beautiful bold auto and a high grade. It's got potential to have lasting power for sure.
Thanks for that, Karn. Adam, any comments from you on it?
Well, I'm reminded of last show when we talked about autograph quality on this particular card, Jeremy. I don't know if you remember that, but this card is one where the autograph can get a little bit lost. It doesn't on this one. This is a beautiful example of this card. And there's for anybody who is on Instagram, if you go look at the PWCC Instagram, then we did a pretty good video on this particular one. The autograph really pops on this card. And so, somebody who loves autographs, post-production autographs, I think we can call them, or PSA, DNA, BGS, JSA type autographs. This is one of the real grails to have a combination of that autograph on that card and an 8.5. If I remember right from the video, I think it has 9.5 centering, guys, and that on that card is just unreal.
Yeah, to add too, I like the autograph better on the star than I do on the Fleer. To me, the star, it works with it. It almost looks like it's pack pulled. It kind of fits with the card. On the Fleer, I think it does get a little bit more lost. And I know the pack pulled out of 23 is a much more valuable card. But when you're looking at just the aesthetics of it all, I do like the star rookie a little better for an autograph.
On that note, Karn, there was an autographed Jordan 86 that was signed on the back that was up maybe like a year ago or something, and I was bidding on it because on the 86 Fleer, you're exactly right. It can get a little lost on the star. It almost always does on the Fleer, and so that's kind of an unusual take that you would maybe even. I found myself like really like looking at this card thinking, oh, I like that it's signed on the back. That's a weird thing to say, I know, but back to the star card, it is, if you're a post-production autograph fan on a significant iconic type card, that's as nice of a Jordan star autograph as I think you're going to find.
Thanks for the comments, guys. Fun fact from Mark says Jerry Rice enjoys crashing weddings on the weekends. True story. Thanks for the fun fact. Peep says Roger Craig ran through lava. Jerry Rice leapt over it with ease. I like that. Well Connected says, my bad. I don't know why you're saying that, but that's okay. How do y'all feel about Sports Card Radio? I know he's talking about the YouTube channel, Sports Card Radio. How do I feel about Sports Card Radio? When I watch them, I am highly entertained. Anyone have any comments on that?
100%. I absolutely love watching Sports Card Radio. Actually, like when I'm sorting through cards, I just put it in the background. They're just one of the funniest people in the whole industry, and I even if you don't agree with them, I just love their takes and their angles on things, and it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, I haven't watched a ton of them, but the ones that I've watched, same with you, Jeremy. I found myself entertained. There's times where I agree with what they're saying, times I don't, but I always find myself being entertained by them. They have quite the following, that much is for sure.
Oh yeah, they've blown up lately for sure. Corey RC says, yeah, Fanatics is buying the hobby as a whole, as well as all the licensing. Eventually, it's a monopoly. It's probably the smartest move they have ever made thus far. Yeah, time will tell. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff to do in the future, like the whole future, but we'll see where things go. It's exciting times. Sasha says that the main reason Fanatics buys Panini is for the IP rights. Yeah, the brands, exactly. They're worth more to Fanatics as it's important for the hobby to have continuity of key sets, which I completely agree with. That continuity, that's why Exquisite, even though it hasn't been around for a while, but it was around from 03 to 09. That's a nice chunk of time. Young Guns in hockey, Prism has been around now for almost 10 years. Continuity is very important. I call it brand equity. It's the brand equity which comes through a brand existing and being produced year after year after year. Really,
hey, Jeremy, I think if I might be mistaken on this, but somebody go check an old break of 2012 Prism. I believe 2012 Prism came out 10 years ago this week. So it's kind of fun we're talking about it.
Oh, there you go. 10-year anniversary of the first Prism product ever, and now it's legendary in the hobby for sure. Okay, what does Sasha make? Sasha's on fire tonight. Says I was bidding on the 86 Fleer, signed on the back too. Sold in the summer of 2021 at Golden, I believe, only brought about $16K. I was too busy buying my 96 Topps Kobe Bryant rookie card in the same auction. Well, maybe you missed out, but we can't win them all. That's for sure. Anytime Well Connected. Thanks for being here. And we are at the end of the comments. I feel like a sense of accomplishment to get to the bottom of the comments. Either we're running really well or you guys are settled down in the comments. We still have like over 240 people in here. So glad to have you all. And let's take a run down here and look what's going on with these auction, the listings. I mean, we've been watching up here. So we see the bids coming in as they're coming. We're down. Oh, it just went from 16 seconds to 50. So it's been reset. It's going to go. We're going to be going here for, Adam, we're 3 hours into the show. We're in extended bidding now for 2.5 hours. And I think the latest we've ever gone, and, I could easily be wrong on this, but till about, if you see it, you can see on my screen where I am, it's 10:24 p.m. I think we've gone to about 10:45 or something like that. So we'll see how long this one goes, but it's a sign of health for me. Let me retract that. Let me say it's a sign that things are better than the narrative would suggest. And that's because the negative narrative is always so much louder than the positive narrative. That's just the way humans work. That's just the way society works. So, yeah, that's right, Cage. That's right. We are the Jerry Lewis telethon on here. The Jerry Lewis telethon of hobby coverage right here on Sports Cards Live, the PWCC Premier Auction coverage. Jacob makes a good point. That's how news works. That's right. Positive stuff does not sell newspapers. Positive things do not sell. They do not make good headlines. It's the negativity that makes the headlines, and that's why that gets all the clicks on YouTube and elsewhere.
Real quick, Jeremy, I think I saw in the comments, Logan Thompson said, didn't the Giannis break 1 million last year? I think he's talking about the Select Black, and I believe I could be wrong, but I believe he's referring to the Prism Black. Maybe the Prism Black Mosaic that sold for over 1 million last year. And that would make sense because Prism is definitely the brand. This card has a similar sort of design in terms of it like looking like a mosaic type card, but this is the Select, and so it's not shocking that it would sell for quite a bit less than the Prism card.
Just noticing the Steve Nash PMG green getting bids still. What was that, like to the 70,000s? What a beautiful card that is. Sans lions or other animals. It's not a zoo. Sports cards are not a zoo.
I laughed earlier, Jeremy, and I was going to say something, but you said it. Somebody was like, wow, this Steve Nash, man, it's sure down. I can't remember exactly what they said. I don't want to misrepresent him, but the tone of the message sounded like they were saying, wow, look how much this card has decreased. And I sort of bit my tongue and thought, it's not going to stop there. Nobody who knows that card thought that was going to sell for 32 grand plus the 20% buyer's premium. And Karn's nodding his head. Karn, is that kind of how you feel about that one as well?
Yeah, it's just such a nice card. It's actually one of my favorite green PMGs from that year. It's I think it just fits so perfectly. Just the way he's just running across the court and the ball and how it just fits together with the PMG design. I think it's one of the more highly sought after green PMGs after the Jordan.
Yeah, same page. He's in that rare sort of like band of players. I shouldn't say rare. There's not a lot of guys, I guess, from '96 that very popular draft class that you see in that set and go, oh man. Like there's I guess there's the Kobe, there's the Ray Allen, and then there's Nash and Iverson. Those are probably like the big four. And maybe Nash doesn't get the same love as some of those other guys, but he did win 2 MVPs, which is I think more than anybody else in that class one, and had quite the career. I think, isn't that Steve Nash's best card? I mean, I think it's pretty clear, right?
Yeah, it's his number one card, and also for me, this is a weird thing that might not resonate, but I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan, so there's something called a Kamehameha. And that card always reminds me of like Steve Nash doing the Kamehameha with the basketball in his hand and flames coming out. So that's kind of why I love it. So, and there's a bunch of leaves falling on the card too. So I'm Canadian, so it just fits me so well. I love that card.
Hey, Jeremy, I just want to ask one more quick question on a card that's up right now. The Curry Logo Man auto that's up right now is really an interesting one for me because, look, there's obviously not a lot of Curry, and it just got another bid. There's not a lot of Curry Logo Man autographs, and Curry also doesn't have a lot of like big time cards, right? He has a couple from his rookie year, but things are sort of we're still trying to figure out, I think, what from the Panini era is the big Curry cards other than a few of his rookies, right? A Logo Man auto is really top towards the list, but this one is an early Logo Man auto, numbered out of 2. It's a sticker auto. I know none of us like stickers, right? None of us are going to say, I like stickers more than being on card. Nobody's going to say that. But at some point, I think like it's a second-year Logo Man auto of Steph. But do we feel so negative against the stickers that we just would never want that in our collections? I kind of picked it up when I was doing the video of it, and those were some of the thoughts that I had. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I've actually asked the question before. Would you rather have a Logo Man? This was actually in relation to a hockey card. So would you rather have a Logo Man or a shield without an auto, or would you rather have one with a sticker auto? And surprisingly, a lot of people that I asked the question to chose the no auto. They rather have the no auto over a sticker auto. I would use a sticker auto all day, even though I had the card that had no auto. I'd say, I mean, if someone put a sticker auto on this card, I think that's way more valuable. It just, to me, having an autograph in any shape or form should make the card more sought after. So it was interesting to see that people were willing to take the sticker auto out. And yeah, I do get that it kind of takes away from the aesthetics of a card, but it's still an autographed piece of something from the player that depicts the card. So I think it's a cool add and value add for a card for sure.
Jeremy, I wonder if you feel the same, because I know you're pretty anti the sticker. Are you?
Hate stickers.
Karn's question is a good one. Would you go no auto, or would you go sticker auto?
I just go neither. I mean, I'd probably go no auto. What I hate about sticker autos is that you always see that outline of the sticker on the card, and it's just it just detracts from the presentation to me. I was about to, I put a post up on Instagram the other day saying these are the players I collect, just to make a point that, asking who you collect, it's not a great question because people collect more than one player. I was also thinking about putting a post up saying something like, or just expressing myself wherever that, I'm going to implement a no sticker autograph rule for my collection. Just that's it. Final, no sticker autographs in my collection. I don't care what the card is. And then I realized, I'm going to have a couple here and there. So, but a shield is probably the one card I wouldn't want it on. I want if I'm going to invest in, by investing, put out enough money to buy a shield card that I would want of a player that I would want in my collection, I would not want, is it over? I would not want an autograph on a sticker. It's not over yet. I would not want that sticker auto on that as well. But I also don't know that I want a shield without an autograph, without an on-card autograph. So I would just take neither. I don't want either in my collection. I'm not a fan of shields. I prefer Logo Man. They have color to them. They have red, white, and blue. Shields in hockey, I found very boring. I don't have a single shield in my collection, and there's not even a single shield I covet out there. Don't get me wrong. I take a Crosby shield or a Gretzky shield, but shields to me, I just don't. They're not. I don't ever covet them.
So, Jeremy, I want to say two things real quick. Number one is I think we're about done on the auction because you just highlighted it. It got down to zero, and there was a bid at the very last second. So this is that time in the auction where I always say this, but if you were going to bid on anything, this is your chance. We're probably going to wrap up here in the next couple of minutes.
Now's the time. I'm going to take a few minutes now, guys, and run through some comments. There's a lot of great ones, and I'm way behind now, but I'm going to run through. Nick Martelli, great show. Awesome talking points. Until next time, thanks, Nick, and we'll see you next time. Kryptonite says, the longer it goes, the stronger the hobby is what people will perceive. And I think that's somewhat fair because it's the longer it goes, the more money that's being spent. So to me, there's a direct correlation there. Not to say it's all true, but there is that correlation. Sasha says, for anyone that has been in the hobby long enough, the Panini to Fanatics switch has been going 100 times better than the Topps Upper Deck switch to Panini 10 years ago. Interesting. And I was around them, but I wasn't really paying attention to the corporate activity as much. Wade Conley says, Karn zooming in on the $3 million Luka Doncic auto. Maybe he is. Luka Nation. So Cage says, I bowed out on a few cards. Some stuff selling strong. The 52 mantle in a 2 is at 48 with buyer's premium. It's a nice copy, but that's a great price for a mantle too. If I was a consigner, I would be happy. Yeah, I think that's a nice mantle too as well. I thought about it, but it's way beyond me at this point in time. But congrats to the consigner. I think I know who it is. He might even be in the chat right now. Speak up if you'd like to. Corey says, back to the lion on the Barry. We can't get rid of the lion on the Barry Sanders card. Have you guys seen the new 2021 Donruss baseball toilet paper parallel? It's absolutely embarrassing. That has to be a joke. He has to be joking, right? I've never heard of a toilet paper parallel. I hope it's a joke, and there isn't one. So here's a similar question to the sticker autograph on a shield. Peeps puts it out there for us.
Watch the timer.
Peeled or unpeeled on cards that come with peel?
Oh,
For me, it's peeled. I like peeled. I like the card just, without the peel on it.
Listen, I do too. I don't want words across the picture. To me, the card was meant to be peeled. It even says peel here to be removed. It was meant to be removed. But there's the traditionalists. I know our friend Frankie in the chat says peel on. It's the way it came out of the pack. Adam, peel on. I understand and respect both positions. But the cards look so much nicer with that peel off, so you can actually see what the card looks like.
Actually, I have so much fun taking the peel off, just like, going into it really deeply and just like being so careful with it and getting that peel off the card. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So
I love both perspectives on this, and we published a piece in BCF about this because I think it's such a fun conversation, and we could say a lot of different things, but to me, the thing that's really cool about having the peel on is that it adds sort of like almost like similar to like a centering type grade. You want the words to go to a certain place on the card. You don't want them covering, for example, the athlete's face and things like that. But to your point, Jeremy, what was meant for the card, my rebuttal to that has always been the 1980 Topps set were meant to be perforated, but we're not saying that we like them more when they're perforated. So why is it different with the peel? The real answer there is aesthetically, it's not close. It's way better with it off. So I get the argument. I get it. Just I want the card the same way that it was coming out of the pack. But here we go. 5 seconds. Is this it? Nope, not it. Hey, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander getting a bid. That guy is balling right now, guys. He is balling. That's got to be close to a record for an Alexander card.
All right, back to some comments here. Boston Authentic. Mark says, funny nobody wants a green Nash 96 refractor, the greening, but everyone wants a green PMG. Well said, Mark. Thanks for that. Joe says, when do we get to see Adam in his issued black and yellow logo PWCC shirt, one size too small, outlining his impressive muscular physique? Maybe next time. Kryptonite says, what's up with these Kaboom cards? Well, I think they're just the hot insert for the era right now, and people love the looks of them. Really as simple as that. Big Biz wants to know about F1 cards. Relatively low print runs per year, few years available, plus the sport gaining popularity, make them one of the safer bets. Do you agree? I know that they've been coming down. I think they've been coming down in value a bit lately, like other things, but I do agree. I think that sport has a lot of potential and a lot of potential collectors. So are they going to be a good investment? I don't know. Maybe, but I think that I think the sport is fun. It's got a lot of new fans lately, and we like to collect. So yeah, I'm gonna say that I do agree with that. Corey RC says, when I visualize the work that goes into a sticker auto card, it completely turns me off. I picture Panini opening a filing cabinet and grabbing a sheet of stickers and just grabbing one for the card. I think that's probably how it works for the most part, but some look better than others. Some cards look terrible. The sticker is just put on there when there was no thought in the design process that a sticker would be added later. Some cards are designed to accommodate a sticker later on. Those usually look better. When a sticker is just thrown on a card that has a parallel, for example, without a sticker, it usually doesn't look. So I hate when Upper Deck puts a sticker on an O-Pee-Chee Platinum card. It just doesn't look good. No auto is better for me. Same with Prism. I don't want a sticker on a Prism card. I don't think they're meant to have stickers. That's my personal, not my opinion that they're not meant to. My opinion that they don't look good with stickers at all. Just me though, right there. I saw someone made a comment here. Kryptonite says, you wouldn't want a sticker auto of MJ? Come on, man. I wouldn't. Let me rephrase. I wouldn't buy one. Would I want one? Sure. Give me one. I'll take it all day long. I'll probably sell it and put that money towards an on-card auto. But no, I've had plenty of opportunities to buy one, and I won't do it. I just don't want it.
I love it. The thing that, Jeremy, one of the things that I've always loved about our conversations is when you have a thing that you feel strongly, you will just say, this is how I collect. This is what I do. I don't care if anybody else doesn't like it. This is me. And that's, I think, how we all ought to be, right? Karn can just say, I like all peeled cards. And I can be like, I like all unpeeled cards. And we can totally like the way each other collects, even if it's totally different. I think it's a great thing.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong here. We are all entitled to like what we like and what we don't like. And as soon as you let people tell you what to like, what not to like, you're going to get away from enjoying the hobby. I think you have to enjoy the hobby. But at the same time, be open to new ideas. Listen to what other people say. Maybe they will sway you. That is okay. We have the right to change our mind. We have the right to evolve as collectors. Our collections are fluid. You have the right to fall out of love with a card. I do it all the time, and I don't feel bad about it. It's my collection. Screw the rest of you. I'll do whatever I want with my collection.
Yep,
that's what it comes down to. And I think everyone should kind of go that way. It's up to you. Like what you like, don't like what you don't like, and be willing and open-minded to change along the way, because that is also your prerogative.
Well said.
Sasha, the attraction of an on-card auto isn't even aesthetics, but that it brings a collector closer to the game. The player touched and held the card, if it's on card, brings us closer to the players we love. We're watching the clock. That's why we're quiet, and it's reset. And Cage makes a comment here. He says,
I just got a message saying I won, but it recycled again. I literally got a message saying, congratulations, you won. So I started clapping. But
oh, wow.
Wait, did you get an email or an on-app message?
No, just like on the desktop, it said, congratulations, you won over my card. But I guess.
And then it went away. Yeah.
It went away right away. So.
This is my least favorite part of the show. This is my least favorite part of how this ends, because it ends, but then it doesn't end. And we just saw that again right now. Yeah, it said it's over, and then it resets. Yeah, it's catching up. It is what it is. Back to this comment here about the player touching the card. I agree with that, but the player might have touched the sticker too. At least the sheet the sticker was on. He held the pen. He or she held the pen hit the sticker. So I hear that comment. I agree. Like, that's how I roll as well, but I'm not as married to that comment. Signed in Slab says no peel. Junk Wax Investor says peeled. A lot of people want to see the cards how they were meant to look, right there for sure.
One of my favorite parts of the peel thing is when the peel is like disgusting and has a bunch of scratches on it, and you take it off and the card underneath looks beautifully presented. That's like one of the best feelings ever. So that's one of the key things there.
There you go, for sure.
I love it.
But Jacob says, by the way, you bros are killing it tonight. Thanks for the time. Well, thank you for the comment. Always nice to get the positive feedback. Spurs Card says toilet paper cards is a real thing. Don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why either. Pretty funny, totally gimmicky, and a comic book comes in at the top. Batman gets a bid up to $26,500. Jonathan Allen peeled a couple cards himself last night. I've peeled a card or two in my life. It's fun to peel them for sure. Rock Latex, wasn't the 80 Topps Bird Magic meant to be separated though? Yeah, good point. However, I want my cards, for the most part, 2.5 inch by 3.5 inch. That's what.
But it's the same thing. It's the same. You can't say.
I can. Oh no, I can. I can say it.
Okay. You can say it, but it is the same principle, because you went with you go with like, it was meant to be peeled, so I want it peeled. Well, it was meant to be perforated, so I want it perforated. But we distinguish between those two things, don't we?
Where on the 80 Topps basketball card does it say perforate here? I know it's implied, but where does it say that?
On the box, it shows it. On the box, the Irving and the Bird are separate from the Magic, and so
it's presented as an option.
Well, so is the peel. It's the same thing.
It often says on the peel, remove peel. It says. Listen, of course, we're what do you call? We're splitting hairs here. And again,
I love it.
Like you said, I can decide that I want my cards with peeled because that's the way they were meant to be. I can also, in the same breath, say I want my 81 panel cards not perforated because that's how I want them, even though they were meant to be perforated. And anyone can say anything to me on that, and I don't care. You're not changing my mind. That's how I collect. Everyone else can screw off if you want. That's how I collect.
And while you guys were debating, I checked out this toilet paper parallel. I'm shocked that it's real, and it's just there's a toilet paper parallel.
Is it called toilet paper?
On eBay, it's called a toilet paper parallel. And it's a bunch of toilet paper in the background of the card.
Wow.
I don't know if it's custom or not, but it looks like it's completely legit. Good stuff.
The more we talk about it, I think I have seen it. It's got like a bunch of little rolls of toilet paper in the background. Is that the way it looks?
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
I'm sort of remembering it now. Kryptonite's a big fan of Junk Wax Investor. If you're not subscribed to the Junk Wax Investor YouTube channel yet, take a moment and do so if you would like. A great channel right there. Luca Cage says, I can't go to sleep unless I know if I won the car. Yeah, of course you can't. Of course you can't. Yeah, there's comics in this auction, Crypta. There are comics. Thank you, LA Connection, LNN. What? Oh, Luca Nation Network. That's our boys Cage and Andrew over there. They're what, episode like 600,005 already over there, guys. They put out 1 or 2 podcasts a day.
It's amazing.
This is getting spicy. It's getting spicy. That's right. That's right.
Speaking of
Sign and Slab tells us the toilet paper is real.
This is what's great about the show, Jeremy, is we're talking about toilet paper and peel and stickers. We got everything. I don't have access to put anything in the chat, but I sent you a direct message with a picture of the box, the 1980 Topps box.
There it is.
And I was right about that.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I know that it's split, but does it say anywhere that you need to do that, or is it just it's presented as an option to me? It's not like split here. It's an option because look, look. Why isn't this split? It's clearly an option.
Zoom in on that.
I can't. Oh, I can. Oh, what's going on?
No, they're not split. I thought they were too. But
they're
the
not.
two are.
So what? And according to what you're saying, what they're actually telling you to do is split off the far right panel, but leave the first 2 intact. That's what it is suggesting you do. Everyone knows that no, we're not going to do that. So
I love it.
Funny.
Absolutely love it.
Fun stuff, guys. Fun stuff. All right. Where are we here? Let's see.
Oh, we're over. It's it.
It's done. Yeah, got the Yuan highlight again. It looks
Wait
like
for the email, Karn, before we get too excited.
Wait. I don't believe it yet. Wait. Is it over?
It's trying hard.
Yep, got the email. We're good.
Wow, they move fast. The emails are already out.
Got the email.
Jeff Hart's with me. Peel. Sign and Slab thinks it's over. Junk Wax says, do they grade the Birder Magic if it is separated? I don't know if I've ever seen one graded. I don't remember. I've asked that question. I think one company does and one doesn't, maybe.
They'll put it in a slab, but they won't put it in.
We're going to take that off for now while it's thinking.
We
The auction is now over. Huh? What's that, Adam?
I was going to say, we can't determine whether it's good or not just based on what the grader says. Like, the grader says that they'll do it. I obviously don't believe that we should perforate a 1980 Topps card, by the way. That would be terrible.
I don't either. What the grader says or does has zero impact on what the situation is just like this. Just because PSA starts grading the Star Jordan doesn't change the status of the Star Jordan. It might impact it over time, but it doesn't automatically change it, in my opinion. What do you think?
So I gotta call this out real quick. Sasha and I have been talking for the last couple of days because he's putting together the NBA at 75 rookie autographs. So rookie cards autographed. And in the last 2 weeks, all the stuff has happened on the Mikan. The Mikan came out on the Iconic 100. The Mikan was discussed as where it should be on the Iconic 100 and all sorts of threads and all sorts of places. I got my Mikan card yesterday, and he's sitting there the whole time just hoping that no one else will bid on this 48 Bowman autograph, and he got it. He finally added it to his collection. It was my favorite card in the whole auction. I'm thrilled for him, and just wanted to call that out.
Congratulations, Sasha. That is amazing. Happy for you. On another topic, we were asked to show the toilet paper prism. There you go. These are rolls of toilet paper with one of the sheets kind of coming off the side. I don't know what to say. That this isn't. I mean, it's gimmicky, it's funny, it's a little bit embarrassing though for the hobby. I don't know if that's just me, but it's like, really, you're putting toilet paper on the card? That's weird. It's weird. What am I out of line thinking that it's a bit of embarrassment to the hobby that they did that?
I don't know.
I
just don't care. There's so many things in the hobby that I don't care about. Like, I just don't care about this at all.
And this is
it's funny, but I don't care.
Yeah, it's just a no comment type of thought for me.
I mean,
Jeremy says Adam is right logically, but Jeremy is somehow actually right.
That's exactly like how I would put it too. I don't know which way to go. It's like Jeremy is kind of right, and Adam's right too. So it's a tough one.
The best part about this is both Jeremy and I know. I was just gonna say the best part about this is both Jeremy and I know that neither one of us will ever change each other's minds, and I respect the heck out of what he thinks. You guys know that. Like, I think Jeremy's one of the smartest people in this hobby. But I would never change what I think. There's no chance of me. I've thought this way for 20-something years. There's no chance I'm changing now.
And don't. I mean, that's the beauty of the hobby. We all approach it so much differently, and there's no two people that do it the exact same unless, you're actually co-owning a collection, let's say. But we all do it differently, and that's just the beauty of it. There's an infinite amount of ways to approach this thing, and I think that's one of the things that keeps the hobby interesting. And keeps it's why a new person can come in. They can come in, you walk around a card show, you browse Instagram, you browse PWCC Marketplace, you see all these different options. That's why I said earlier, when someone asked me, hey, who do you collect? I'm like, that's not the right question. The right question is either, what do you collect? Because that would include sets, teams, brands, inserts, parallel, whatever, eras, sports, players. It's either what do you collect or how do you approach the hobby? Those are the questions I prefer to ask people. I think they elicit better answers. When you ask me, who do I collect? I'm like, well, grab a cup of coffee because it's like 50 players deep who I collect. And if not more, Hall of Famers from all sports. What's that? 1,000 players? I don't have time to list those off for you. And I'm being exaggerative, but it's true. Like, I like to ask, how do you collect or what do you collect versus what player do you collect? So just a random comment.
Jeremy, I want to. Can we talk about the Luka real quick?
Yeah. What did it end at? Any more? Was it 3?
Didn't get any more action. Didn't get any more action.
6?
Yeah. So what is that? 3.12 million.
Yeah, exactly. Right. 3.12 million. There it is.
So
3.12.
Here's some. I just had a buddy who worked at PWCC send me this data. So tomorrow you're gonna hear a lot of people going crazy about it being such a huge loss, right? That's what you're going to hear people say. It is the highest price ever paid for a basketball card at public auction. It is tied for the 7th most expensive trading card ever sold at public auction. It's tied for 14th most expensive trading card ever sold at public auction or reported private sale. It's the most expensive basketball trading card ever sold this year, public or private. It's the first time any Luka Doncic card has sold for more than $1 million at public sale. It's the second highest price ever paid for a Luka Doncic card, only next to the last time that it sold that was a private sale. It's the third highest price ever paid for a basketball card in either a public auction or reported private sale. It's sold for over $3 million, but people are going to lose their minds over selling for so much less than it did the last time. And it's just such a reminder to me of how perspective or your paradigm just affects everything. Some people will say this is a sky is falling movement, and then there's other people who are going man, there's still basketball cards selling for over $3 million. I think it's really interesting, and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, I think any negative sort of we'll see how the narrative goes. Of course, there will be people that will go for that sort of approach that the sky is falling, but I'm with you. I think that's a healthy price at this time for that card, and I got to think that the seller is probably pretty pleased with what he or she was able to salvage out of that card in today's economic climate. So I would like to see it sell for more. It would have been fun, but that's what happened. So this surprises me. This card, I mean, again, I saw 2 at Expo that were probably, I don't know if either was graded this high or better. I don't know if you remember, Karn. David out of Montreal or Quebec somewhere had a couple of them at his booth. I think one he had 150K on, one 250K. I don't know what they're graded. But what are your thoughts on where the McDavid RPA ended at 72,000 with buyer's premium?
So yeah, little story on that McDavid Cup RPA. 4 years ago, a young little 25-year-old Karn found all his nickels and dimes, and it was his first big purchase. That exact same copy, same serial number.
Wow.
Yeah, and to this day, 4 years later, literally, I bought that card in 2018 on November 18. 4 years later, I just bought it back for $72,000.
Congrats, man. What else did you buy?
I bought the McDavid Cup RPA, and I got the Ultimate Collection LeBron BGS 9.5.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I thought $66,000 is the price that card used to go for pre-COVID, early 2019. So when I'm looking at cards, especially in this market, I think that's like why a lot of guys are jumping back in too, because now I feel a lot more safe putting more money into cards, because this card is ending at the prices I used to look at them prior to this COVID spike that we saw. So yeah, I was very comfortable spending $66,000 on a true gem with a 10 subgrade. The auto is not perfect, but I think it's bold. It looks good enough. And funny enough, I actually traded both these cards, the LeBron James Ultimate Collection and a McDavid RPA BGS 8.5, for the LeBron Gold Refractor that I just traded to Jeff Wilson. So I actually got my two initial cards back in better grades for less cost than I paid for the other ones. So I replaced my collection and upgraded at the same time.
That's
Congrats,
good operating. Man. Good operating when you can buy back the same card for less than you sold it for earlier. That's good stuff. Diamond Pocklington just says thanks and great show. Thank you so much to Diamond Pocklington for joining us tonight. Andy Sweat finished second on the Jerry Rice Rubies. Can't believe I even bid that high for it. Pretty positive. We'll see another one for sale soon after this closes. Jugs of whiskey and tears for me tonight. Sorry you didn't win it, but thanks for letting us know. Signed in Slab says Panini is trolling us. Boston Authentic says Optic printing so much they are trolling themselves. Teapot says they did toilet paper during COVID shortage. It's stupid. I'm not alone then thinking that it's just kind of embarrassing is what I'm gathering from all of this. Sasha is almost done. The top 75 NBA signed rookies, as you let us know, Adam. 4 more to go, but I like this part. One man's misfortune is another man's fortune. When prices are down, the market can start to bounce back because people are gaining confidence again, just like Sasha and Karn as well. Junk Wax says they're running out of ideas. Next thing we'll be seeing lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my! I think he means bronze on Panini cards. That would make Andrew and Cage pretty happy, I'm sure. Corey says, and they're putting toilet paper on cards after charging what they're charging for a hobby box now. They're trolling us. Pretty funny. It kind of is. Maybe it is sort of just like a big joke. Who knows? Teapot says the Mahomes Gold Vinyl out of 5 did $222K, whereas the Black Finite 101 did $288. Closer gap between the two than I expected. Always fun to be surprised on this whole thing. Jacob says if you focus on one thing, you'll make out ahead. If you dabble in everyone's interest, you're never going to make out. Yeah, talking about just, collect what you like. Going back to that whole thing right there. Thanks for the comments. No, signed in Slab, but I did not win anything. I wasn't qualified for extended bidding on this Premier at all. I've only ever won one card in the PWCC Premier Auction, and that was last month's PMG Red Jerry Rice. Thanks for asking, signed, but Karn let us know. The toilet paper really chaps my hide. Good show, everyone. Thanks, Justin Vick. Appreciate that. Andrew says, what do we really know about that first sale? Was the 4.6 ever verified? Those parties had every reason to exaggerate that number. Do either of you know that 4.6 was ever really confirmed or audited, for that matter? Not audited, but really confirmed?
Yes, I interviewed Matt Shine for BCF, and I asked him about it, and I believe he confirmed it. I need to go back and look at that interview, but I don't know. When it comes to private deals, it's hard to sort of audit something, and so I don't know. Okay,
good. What else we got here? let's see, because we're about to end. Good night to you, Nikita, thanks for being here. 1 a.m. where you are. Yeah, get some sleep for sure. Cards are a social thing, says Jacob. He says the seller needs to feel a social environment before they get upset. I don't understand exactly what you're getting at, but appreciate the comments. Sign and Slab says there was a picture of the $5.8 million check that was written. 4.6 was what they ascribed to the Luka. Interesting. It was multiple cards in that deal. So we're hearing all stuff. Sasha says, Jeremy, new bidder last week. I won an item for the first time today. Adam, wonder if PWCC has stats on the number of new winners in Premier Auctions. Like, I'm certain that they do have that stat, and maybe we can share some of that next month if it's information that PWCC is willing to share. I don't know the pros and cons of sharing it, but maybe they're willing to share that next month. And Sasha, I hope you'll be back next month. And thank you for your participation in the show tonight. And congrats again on your win. Checks are not always cash. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You just never really know. Listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but, take things with a grain of salt and proceed accordingly. What do you think, guys? Any final comments before we wrap up? We're at 3. We just hit 3.5 hours, Adam, and I've been holding in a number one for a good 15 or 20 minutes here, so I'm good to wrap up. Any final comments from the panel?
I have two real quick thoughts. The lesser important one is on the Jordan Jambalaya card. We were talking earlier about how some cards come to auction a lot all of a sudden when you see a high price, and then that brings the value back down. We saw a couple real high prices of it, Jeremy, and then it brought out a bunch, and now we've seen some lower sales, and that's probably good because now we're not going to see any. I don't think we're going to see too many Jordan 9.5s for a bit because people are like, oh, if that's now the new value, I don't want to sell it. So that's number two. Number one is, even though I know we need to go quick, I think it's really smart on this auction to look at that first page, sort by highest, and look at how many six-figure sales there are. This was a huge auction, guys. And getting some messages from some people internally, there's a lot of people who are really stoked about how well this auction did.
Good to hear.
Basically our mark on what we thought it was going to do. And so that means some cards are low, some cards are high, but this was a strong auction, I think is what I would say.
Good to hear. Thanks for those comments. A few comments coming in from the chat. James says the guy was a crypto trillionaire. 4.6 million is nothing to him. Gerald, good to know you're out there, Gerald, with us. Thanks for letting me know that you're here. Luca wants to know what the Ruth 33 Gaudi Yellow PSA 4.5 sold for. Let's see if I can find that really quickly. Here we have it. $30,600 with the buyer's premium. Cage is what it sold for. The card I would have loved to buy did 14.4. Actually had that amount in my account, but didn't make a play. Would have had to pay more, I'm sure, to get it. Teapot, good night to you. Always good to have you here. Brian Basketball is asking y'all to smash the like button. Y'all great, Joe. Thanks for documenting our hobby history. Jeremy, thank you for that comment. That's really nice. And thanks to Adam for joining. As always, thanks to Karn for coming on and just providing us with your presence, your company, Karn. Always like having you around. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, I don't remember if there's anything else I got to speak to, but I have to pee. So listen, I've never told anyone, I've never said screw you on this show before. And I said it like twice tonight about, and I'm talking about having to go to the bathroom. What can I say? I'm human too. I got to do it. So I think we're good to wrap up. Karn, thank you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Congrats on your wins.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
All right. And with that, you guys hang tight for 1 second. To the chat, thanks so much. Upcoming shows, Saturday, back-to-back shows, another Collectible Live on Sunday. Hope to see you then. If you've been watching all this time, thanks so much for joining. Still over 170 people out there watching right now. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel. And look at that. Cage won the Ruth. Woohoo. Yay! Congratulations, Cage. It's an absolute stunner of a card. Perhaps my second favorite baseball card of all time. So congrats on that. Okay, with that, everybody, this show is over. Thanks, LA.